The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, it is a man. That's a horrible start.
I mean, that was rocky.
A fumble,
Do we
right?
just
Should
do we just
what
run
do
it
we
back?
do there?
I think we just run it. I mean, we
that
have to
was
just run it
bad.
back.
We might have to.
I think we have to just run it.
Someone asked if I had a lisp the other day. Was I lisping the other day?
I don't know. Do you have like CTE or something?
I have no
Concussion
clue.
symptoms?
I mean, like,
Whew.
I don't know what that was. That was bad. I fumbled
Send
right
him
out
to
of
the
the
Blue
gate.
Medical Tent.
No, we don't need to do the intro all over again. But yes, the Blue Medical Tent. Well, nice. But welcome in. This is a Friday.
Invented by an Alabama student, actually.
Really?
The Blue Medical Tents, yeah.
See,
The pop-up
already-
sideline medical tents.
Already educating
That's
our
right.
tens and tens of listeners.
That's right. Elliot's the worst.
Why am I the worst?
Let's start the show with that.
Oh, yeah, nice
Why am
hoodie.
I the worst?
He dug this puppy
Whoa.
at the depths of his West Side closet just to wear it today, just to anger
So
me.
I want to be honest with everybody. I bought this sweatshirt probably before COVID.
Okay.
And
For what?
I
You
just-
obviously bet on Oregon, but like
Well,
in what?
So
match?
it was well, I don't really know what bet I've won.
Okay.
I think it was a basketball game, if I'm going to be honest
Wow.
with you.
Based on that
Dylan
shirt, it looks like
Brooks?
you lost.
Maybe Dylan Brooks.
Betting wasn't legal before.
So I dug this out of the closet, and I had to stretch it out a good bit
Okay.
because I think this is a size large.
Nice.
And I've gone up since that. So this is maybe the last show this will ever be worn. Actually, this will be the last day it might ever be worn.
I don't think it could be more green.
Yeah, well,
The shade of green is the maximum level of green.
yeah, and that's
Go
why I like.
stand behind
That's why I like
Casey.
it.
Yeah, go stand
I
behind
stand
don't
behind
think
Casey.
you'd be able to see you behind Casey.
Go stand
Yeah,
behind Casey real
No,
quick.
I'll do that later in the show. I'll do that later in the show.
Give you a floating
Elliot
head.
continues to dress like a high schooler.
First of all,
That's
no.
fair. I'll admit when something's
I'm
fair.
also
That's,
wearing a hoodie and a
That's
hat.
fair. Well, but Jacob, you at least you can kind of put it together. I've given up. I've given up a little bit, and that's okay. You know,
It's a
some
sports
people.
hoodie. I will not
Yeah,
accept
no.
that. I don't like the team, but it's a fine hoodie.
That's
It
right.
gets the job done for whatever job you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, if you guys don't like this, that's fine. I'll just stop wearing sports hoodies and we'll just wear Abercrombie.
We go back to Hilton Head.
Yeah, we'll go back to the Hilton Head one. That's okay. I'll change it for you.
I like it. I like
Thank
the
you.
commitment to the bit.
Thank you.
I thought you went out and bought it. I was giving you too much credit. I thought last night you went home a little early yesterday because you weren't feeling well. I
was
thought
not.
that was a long con shtick
No.
to go pick up an Oregon hoodie to
No.
wear today. So I was giving you a little too much credit.
Yeah, I do apologize yesterday. I was not feeling well. After the Charlie interview, something hit me. I'm still not feeling 100%, but I'm feeling better than I was towards the end of that show. I don't know if you guys saw me. I was on my phone. I was telling Kenner this. I was Googling things that was wrong with me. And whenever I start doing that, I feel so much worse.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes me, it gives me like a panic attack, and I just shut it down. So I do apologize for that yesterday towards the end of the show, if you noticed. But yeah, Mark Fetter says if Ohio State wins, Elliot has flat feet just like a duck. Fetters, if I do have an Ohio State shirt, if Ohio State beats Oregon, I will come in Monday with an Ohio State shirt.
There we
That
go.
is a promise.
Love
Fair
that.
enough.
So that'll be the trade-off for this. Nobody likes this sweatshirt. I think this sweatshirt was really good.
If you don't like it because you don't like Oregon, that's fine. But I'm not going to rip Ellie's. Ellie. I'm not going to rip Ellie's attire over here.
Thank you.
There you go. You know. But I'm glad you're feeling better. I didn't think you were going to be in today. I really didn't.
Well, I
did not-
wasn't gonna.
You know,
I
but you're a
would-
tough cookie, dude. You toughed it out. I like it.
You know, a lot of people in this office, whenever they're not feeling good, just like, oh, take the day.
Oh, fix my roof.
Oh,
You
I
got a
gotta fix
roof.
my roof.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff like that. Oh, I gotta go
Okay.
spend 200
Yeah.
hours working Operation Pumpkin next door. Oh, but
Allegedly.
yeah. By the way, Operation Pumpkin, don't like that. Don't like how it shuts down my street. don't like how it shuts that down.
What
Not
is
one bit.
Operation Pumpkin? Is that what this mess is out here?
Yeah, so
I
it's
mean,
like a
family
Halloween
fun?
part. It's like a Halloween festival.
Oh.
For the town of Hamilton, but they use the main road of
Makes
Hamilton.
sense.
which is unfortunate.
What was 75 just booked? I mean, what what's going on?
I guess I don't know. Well, I got into Hamilton and how I usually get in. Obviously, the road's closed, so then I have to maneuver it and come back all the way through under here, and it was terrible. But that's okay.
T's and P's during this tough time.
That's right.
Yeah, that's okay. Listen, I don't complain that much. Are we on radio? I feel like I've been rambling too much. Is that okay? The radio people don't care if I ramble, right?
No, the radio
It's
people
Friday.
love you.
This
They
is a
want
Friday
more-
show.
They want more impressions.
They want more impressions. That's right.
Give
So
us
that's-
one. Give us one. Give us one.
That's a little low stomach.
Yeah, it is.
That's a
He's
lot of
right.
strain
I'll see if I
on
can
the
muster
injured
one
area.
up. I'll see if I can muster one up for around 11 o'clock ads, and we'll see if I can do it then. But as of right now, we're gonna save that. We're gonna save that. But by the way, I speaking of rambling, if that's okay,
Keep
Jacob,
going.
Jacob,
Classic Casey.
classic Casey.
Pulling a Casey.
Just getting
Casey,
attacked
don't
over
take
here.
that from him. Don't take that. Your hat looks very nice today, Casey.
Thank you. I got it from Jacob.
I know you did. I know you did.
This
It
nice
looks
little
good.
Cincy hat from Jacob.
Well, I mean, look at that thing. I'd never wear it, so I had to give it to him.
That's such disrespect. Jacob, you had dinner with some guests yesterday.
I did.
saw this.
I
Yes.
did.
People, I don't know if you guys saw this.
Yeah.
Jacob had dinner with our entire offensive line unit.
That's right. That's right. It was a great time. It was
The Bengals offensive line.
It was a
unit.
lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I got to
Did you meet any friends?
meet them all. We sat next to Volson, Kappa, and Karras for the length of dinner, and it was very
Okay.
funny. Alex Kappa spent the entire time bullying one of my friends.
I love
so that made it a lot more fun. But yeah, it was a great time. It's always fun to meet players on your favorite team, and they turn out to be like really good dudes.
Yeah.
So Mims and Orlando Brown were amazing, and they're big because you look at their numbers on paper. Then you stand next to them, and
Yeah.
I'm not a small guy.
No.
My head was not even like to their shoulder.
That's crazy.
It was crazy, but very, very, very nice guys.
Isn't it funny
really
how when you meet people like that, you meet a celebrity that maybe you didn't like, you'd criticize,
Yeah.
and then you meet them, and you're like, oh yeah, I love you now.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
never say a bad word.
First
about
question I asked, we stayed away from football for the most part.
You didn't ask. Should Zach Taylor? be
No
fired?
defense questions, no coach questions. I asked them their thoughts on PFF grades because I was interested to see what players would think about that. Surprisingly, they hate them. They don't think they know anything about what's going on. So that was my most interesting football takeaway from that. But a lot of college football talking with them about where they went, where those schools are at now. Karras is really fired up about those Illini being ranked this year. But yeah, great dudes. It was really, really cool to meet them.
How much do they eat?
A lot.
Like if you had your plate of food, like you're just a regular skinny guy in your early 20s. What are these dudes eating? Like how big is how what's the stack of potatoes on their plate look like?
So it was like a set menu thing for the dinner, and after it was done and everyone was leaving, a couple of them said that they were going to pick up a meal on the way home and then eat again before bed. So
That's what I do
was-
on the way home from dinner.
yeah.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah, so they said it's 7 or 8 meals a day on average for most of them,
That's
which is
insanity.
just crazy
What
for me
restaurant?
to think about. It was Cozy's in Liberty
Cozy's.
Township, a little over there by kind of like by Lakota East. Really, really cool spot. I'd never been there before, but really cool spot.
Okay.
No free ads.
By the way, I saw Mims put you on his story.
That's
He
right.
He give you a little repost
That's
on the
right.
Instagram.
I had to
Look
take
at you.
had to take a picture with the bookends. Love our tackles and put it on my story, and he reposted it. So it was
Wow.
pretty cool.
So now you just got best friends that are
Pretty
on
cool.
the Bengals.
Yeah,
huh?
my best friend Demarius Mims.
Hey,
I
he got to invite friends to this, right?
I did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. How
He did.
how did you have fun?
I
You didn't go.
So Casey had to fill in for me on Chatterbox Bengals.
Okay, so you didn't get
I
invited
couldn't
either.
ask anyone else from Chatterbox if I needed someone else to fill in for me on Chatterbox Bengals. Easy cop out.
And I had to work last night.
That's
I had
right.
to work a game. So Reed had to work a game.
I put strain on this company by
Yeah.
going to this dinner, so I couldn't ask any of them to come with me.
Yeah. But I'm glad he had fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
All the rest
It was a
of us
good time.
worked.
It was a good time.
Casey did a good job last night. Chatterbox Bengals, by the way.
That's
Good
right.
job,
you.
Casey.
Thank you. Yeah, me and Craig, we just hashed it out. We had a good show. So
I noticed you weren't in the room that has all the little squares in it.
no, so that room is being. I said I was done with my house, but
Oh, here we
that is
go.
actively
Oh,
being.
It's gonna be
God.
us three.
All
guys.
right. So
Tuesday
when am I
through
producing again?
Tuesday through Friday
What,
next
next
week.
week?
Casey's got to
No,
clean the
that-
kitchen.
Next 14 days, I'm gonna be back there in that chair.
That is a long project. That's something that will just. I will not take time off for that. That's just something that I will be piecing together slowly over time. But that room, just wasn't ready to go. So I sat in the spare bedroom with the nice couch and was comfy. I decided to be comfy instead of.
It looked like you were comfy.
Yeah, I was very comfy.
I like that.
Yeah.
When I left the office yesterday, you weren't sure where you were going to do it from, here or at home. I was very happy to check in and see that you were doing it from your couch. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice just being able to do it from home and not have to be
good
here all
vibes.
day. But yeah, it's good vibes. Good vibes.
You talked about eating at Cozy's. He looked cozy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we're all cozy here on a Friday. But this
That's right.
this is the ultimate Friday show. You could just tell.
That is true.
I mean, we are off to a hell of a start.
I
It's
think
not a bad
everyone's
start
in
at
a
all.
decent mood today, which is
Who?
everyone in
Yeah.
here. Like no,
Yeah, sometimes like
No one's
at
really
least two
dragging.
of us suck every morning when we
Yeah.
come in. Everyone's like, all right, he's not in the mood today, so we got to, But yeah, everyone's in a great mood. It's a Friday.
I think
it's
we're
beautiful
good.
outside. The traffic kind of stunk, but outside
That's
of that,
right.
well,
Op pump,
what?
op pump.
Operation Pumpkin. Are you going to stick around? It should be ready, honestly. So last year, again, this will be the final 2 minutes of this rambling segment. We might as well finish it off with a couple more minutes of rambling before we go to the next segment. But last year, it was actually kind of fun. You go over there, they have all the vendors up. I think by the time, maybe not by the time this show ends, but certainly by the time maybe boxed lunch ends, they'll have all the booths open. They'll have all the food. They have that classic lemonade stand that has the cups. If you know
Lemon shake up?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, they got all that. It's a pretty cool time. It's a pretty cool time if you live in Hamilton. It's a little
But-
stressful, I think, for
So is there like
Readeroo
some
right now though.
the Operation Pumpkin? Is there anything pumpkin related? Like, is there?
Yeah,
is
I
there,
think
like,
there's-
pumpkin
I think
carving
it's-
contest.
Mostly pumpkin.
I think
related.
they have like a biggest pumpkin competition. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really? So like
yeah.
they like to grow the biggest pumpkin.
Yeah, I think
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure you have to grow the biggest pumpkin. and
Everett
stuff like
says
that.
it's all pumpkin.
It's all pumpkin.
I love pumpkin pie.
I
Do they have pumpkin pie?
is your favorite pumpkin pie or apple pie? I feel like those are the two big pies.
Pumpkin pie, but like you have to have like a ton of Cool. It has to be like a whole tub of Cool Whip that with it.
Really?
Are we
Yeah.
warming
I'm
up
not-
the apple pie, and can I put a scoop of vanilla ice cream on it?
Yeah.
Then I'm taking apple pie every day of the
Yeah.
week.
I warm up all my pies. I warm up pumpkin
warm up
pie.
pumpkin pie.
I warm up pumpkin. I warm up apple. Blueberry. I don't have that much. But
Day after, 2 days after Thanksgiving, taking the pumpkin pie out of the fridge and just eating it freezing cold is phenomenal.
oh, it's a great time.
But Cool Whip, bro, right? You
Of
can't
course,
just-
of course.
And people say I say it weird. How do you say it?
Cool Whip.
See, if you always just say it like with a smart ass accent, then they just think, oh, he meant to say it.
Yeah.
Like, what name did you say earlier this week? And I just thought you were putting an Elliott spin on it.
Oh, it was
Robert
Salah.
Salah.
Salah, yeah. And I'm like, oh, he's just being, funny. Like, oh, Robert Salah. But no, I didn't realize you were like, so
Listen.
Cool Whip. There
That's
we
right.
go. That's on. Hey, pass the Cool Whip.
That's right, Stewie.
You can't help stupid.
Yeah.
This
I am stupid.
is the wildest start to Off the Bench in quite some time. But
Happy
that's
Friday.
okay.
Happy
It
Friday,
is.
though.
It's a happy Friday. The college football lineup kicks major ass this
Oh,
weekend.
it's so good.
jacked.
It's so good.
The NFL lineup's pretty damn good
Yeah.
too. There's like that Ravens Commanders game, very interesting.
I don't understand the betting on that right
the
now.
line
spread-
is huge.
the spread is
It's a
massive.
And
7-point
people are
line.
taking the Ravens.
Yeah, that means you have to take the Ravens, which is crazy.
I can't. Not at a full time. We'll get into picks.
Yeah,
later.
we're gonna get to our
We'll
picks,
into picks
in a bit.
later.
But I'm glad you brought that up because there were a couple of lines that I thought
Yes.
that does not make sense. We'll get to that. Ohio State, Oregon. Again, it's Elliott's team.
That's right.
That's right.
Go
Elliott's
Ducks.
team. Hold on.
Quack.
The Webfoots.
It sounds like the Ratbirds
It's
now.
very similar.
Is it almost too similar?
I think it's the same sound.
That's all right.
What's
We'll
the
try to develop it.
It has to be. I think you're more of a ACK there, which is good ratbird, but you
Yeah.
need more Q for the duck. Quack. Yeah.
That sounded like I was just like.
It's got to be
spitting.
wetter.
It sounded like a hawk too.
Yeah. Oh. Happy Friday.
Hawk to a Friday. There you go. We'll be right back. This is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. If you tuned in for a sports show and have been disappointed up to this point, we'll try our best to turn it around.
That's right.
when we
No
come back.
promises.
Yeah. But I fumbled it right out of the gate. I set the tone.
Yeah, you
I
opened
set
it up.
the tone.
No, you
You
did.
opened it up,
You
and I
did.
was ready
I
to
did.
go. I was ready to play right off it.
Let's see if we can get the train back on the tracks. We'll be right back. Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. All right, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliott Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here on a Friday. Yes, we are off to a little bit of a bumpy start, but still having a lot of fun, and that's all that matters. I do not care about anything else. But before we dive into all things NFL, before we dive into all things college football, let's dive in to Elliott's headlines, ladies and gentlemen. Elliott's headlines.
Yes.
Elliott
yes.
knows three things. Joey Votto,
Yeah, I do. I love a couple things. Say it, man. Say it.
Do you love
Boom.
any of those things anymore? 'Cause
I love Joey Votto.
That's true, but you would prefer the headlines not to be first.
Sure.
And then
you're right.
You don't like David Bell.
Well,
So we're 33%.
poor David Bell, man. All he gets is slander from everybody in this town, and I just try to stand up for him, but it doesn't work. So that's fine. David Bell, you failed. You came.
Have
you were
we
nice.
said David Bell's name more than any sports talk show in the world
Yes.
since he got fired?
Yep, 100% we have.
Okay,
Yep.
well, good for us.
Yep.
Hang the banner.
Okay, but speaking of baseball,
There we go.
Speaking of baseball, segue.
Ooh.
What was that?
Booing baseball?
I'm booing the Guardians. That's what I'm doing.
I thought you were booing me. My God.
Sacrifice squeeze was a cheat move.
The Guardians win a back-and-forth game with the Detroit Tigers to force a game 5-4, the final. I believe that game is at 8 o'clock on Saturday, I think.
They moved it. It was supposed to be like at 4, and they moved it. And Ohio fans are a little upset right now.
Yeah, a little upset. Tigers fought
why'd they
gallantly, but it just didn't
the
work.
next slot.
Tanner Bybee, 4 innings, 2 earned runs, was the starter for the Guardians. From the Tigers side, it was Reese Olson, 4 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned. Bullpen failed for the Tigers down the stretch. Zach McKinstry hit 4 home runs all year, hit a home run last night to tie the game. Again, fall. Game 5 Saturday. See you there. Yankees, they beat the Royals. They win the series 3-1. Kind of a nothing series. If you had to pick like the worst series so far, it was probably that one. Just because I don't think a ton happened, and our guy Bob Costas was calling it. There was a play, Giancarlo had another RBI last night, and Bob Costas' call, I don't know if you heard it. I mean, it was just like he was narrating somebody going to bed.
I would
like
to rescind my complaint from yesterday.
Really?
Because my complaint from yesterday was that he was rooting for the Yankees, and after watching a little bit more of it, he just stinks all around.
Yeah, I think he
so
just
I was
stinks.
giving him too much credit.
He stinks altogether. And I saw
He was bad.
I saw people saying, well, that's how he's always done it. That's how. Yeah, and that's great because now we know what method doesn't work anymore, and it's that one. Try to show some, and it's a little hypocritical because I'm not a big fan of John Sadek's screaming over everything. I've come to find and come to realize John Sadek's way of broadcasting, though it's not my cup of tea, it's 15 times better than whatever the hell Bob Costas did in that series.
But if you put Sadek on that, and by the way, Sadek, just to be clear, because when we talk about preferences for stuff, it doesn't mean that we're saying anyone's bad at their job. Bob Costas isn't bad at well, you kind of.
It's just a personal. It's
like a personal thing.
taste.
So he is. You said that, but with
no.
Sadek, I want to be very clear. Sadek is one of the best out there, no doubt, and he does. I've heard him call college basketball. He does national college basketball games and college football and baseball. He puts a different flair on baseball because, again, you're allowed to have a little bit more of a hometown flair when you're doing these regional jobs or whatever. So it's not that he does a bad job. It's just preference, as you talked about,
100%.
as far as that goes.
I'm a negative fan. I want more negativity in the broadcast. But that doesn't mean you can't get excited when a team does something good. So saying that, it's over. Again, Yankees-Royals. The Royals just didn't score runs. Michael Wacha, 4 2/3, gave up 2 earned. He was the starter for them. The Yankees, I watched the end. Garrett Cole, by the way, 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Luke Weaver might just be the best pitcher in the postseason.
Yeah.
He might be the best.
He's really good.
I think he's better than Clase. I think he's better than any closer out there right now.
If he closes a World Series game, another hot tub video.
I will. If
he records a save
in the World Series, I will record a hot tub video. It's good for him, man. They figured out how to do it. Clearly, he wasn't a starting pitcher. The Reds have this weird need to start relievers. They did it with Sessa. He did it with Weaver. He did it with Nick Martinez. They just like to do it. And if that's what they want to do, go ahead and do it. But it's not probably the way to success. Luke Weaver has been dominant. I watched him legitimately dominate those at bats last night in that 1 inning.
Yeah.
Dominated them. Through gas, whatever. That series is over 3-1, so it's up to, I think it's the final. It's set, right? So it's no, because Dodgers play tonight. That's right. Dodgers Padres play tonight. Thursday night football. Seahawks lose to the 49ers, 36-20 my God, my mouth. 36-24. The 49ers win. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah.
The NFL openly admitting that they didn't have the camera angles to that punt return, the muffed punt. And Thursday Night Football had the angles, but the NFL somehow didn't. How is that not blatant cheating? I mean, somebody's cheating. I mean, they're just striding to get the Seahawks to win the game.
The system is broken if the broadcast has angles that the review booth doesn't have. Usually it's vice versa. Usually we hear them announcers talk about, oh, they have angles that we're not able to show you on TV. They might overturn this with something we can't see. I've never seen this way.
No. I legitimately can't believe it. I had money on the Seahawks last night, so I was very thankful for it. But it couldn't have been more clear on multiple angles that this ball hit this guy's finger. Like it couldn't have been more clear.
And then the clear and obvious recovery right afterwards.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't understand what was going on there, but that needs to be investigated because that just seems like people who say the NFL is rigged, and you take a look at that clip, brutal.
Yeah, big point for them tonight.
Big point for them.
It's interesting you bring that up, like with college basketball coming up around the corner. Like a lot of conferences, like I always use the Horizon just because I work closely with them, but like they have that ESPN Plus deal. So every school has to be equipped to be able to have all their games on ESPN Plus. But some schools have some of the most horrific equipment, and they don't have all the angles, and they don't have like some of the most crisp, clear visuals on things. Yeah. Others do. Wright State has the best, they have the best equipment and visuals in the conference as far as that goes. But the problem with that is, so if you play at Wright State, you are going to get every opportunity for the best reviews and angles as far as that's concerned. But when you're on the road playing against a team that doesn't have all that, you're limited on what replay access you can get. I just find that interesting. It's like that should be something that should be equal across the board, especially in the NFL, professionally, not mid-major basketball, low-major basketball. We're talking NFL. That should not be the case. So that's weird that at any point the NFL says, "Yeah, we don't have that." That's kind of strange to me. But nonetheless,
I gasped when they did it because that's to me you're rigging that game. But whatever.
Are we out on Geno, by the way?
Geno, tough. By the way, so the Seahawks, I bet the Seahawks last night.
I might be more in on Geno than ever, Casey.
I bet the Seahawks because I saw this stat. They were 20-0 coming into a game after 2 losses since 2019. 20-0. Lost last night. It was Geno Smith's birthday. Another reason to bet on him. And he was terrible. 30 for 52, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. It was bad. I mean, it was a bad game. The 49ers are just really good. I mean, that's all there is to it. If they have – Jordan Mason went down with an injury too. Didn't really even play in the second half. Some guy named Isaac Guerendo.
Kudos to those who drafted Isaac Guerendo in dynasty leagues and stashed him on their bench.
Because turns out you don't need Christian McCaffrey at all. So tough scenes. It was fun to see Kyle Juszczyk score a touchdown though. I saw Kittle score 2 touchdowns last night.
Kittle, interesting last night. Went into the tunnel. They showed him on the broadcast running into the tunnel. He ran back out onto the field, grabbed his helmet in one fluid motion to get back on the field in time for the drive, and then he scored a touchdown like 2 plays later. Usually when you go into the locker room, you're out for at least a few plays afterwards. That was one of the quickest turnarounds I've ever seen.
That's insane. But that's it. That's it, Kinner. Those are your headlines. Not a ton. If you want hockey scores, I can read those out, but I prefer not to.
If you want hockey scores, there you go. Nonetheless, no. Are you a hockey guy? Who's a hockey guy in here? Is anyone a hockey guy?
Not yet, but playoffs I am.
So you thought I was a hockey guy because I wear the Blue Jackets stuff from time to time. We carry a Blue Jackets game of the week throughout the season. They're very nice, and they send us some free apparel. So
there you go.
If it's free, it's for me.
That's right.
And I jump in that as far as that goes. College basketball, I don't know if you saw this. Cameron and Caden Boozer. I love that last name. Maybe it's because I'm an alcoholic. I'm not really sure. But Cameron and Caden Boozer have announced their commitment to play college basketball at Duke. Again, Cameron, the number 2 player in his class, and then Caden, the number 17 in ESPN's Top 100 for the class of 25. They're the twin sons of former Duke star Carlos Boozer.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've always disliked Carlos Boozer because he really kind of screwed over the Cavaliers when they first drafted LeBron James. He was supposed to sign an extension. They had an extension done, and then at the very last second, he backed out, and he goes over to Utah. But imagine how much better the Cavs would have been in LeBron's early years. Carlos Boozer was really, really good in Utah. I mean, him and Darren Williams, they kind of formed what they said it was John Stockton / Karl Malone light is what it was with Williams and, of course, Boozer out there because they had Karolinko for a little bit too. But yeah, every time I think of Carlos Boozer, I'm like, I was always a big Carlos Boozer fan, but I always remember when he kind of screwed over the Cavs very, very early on because they offered him an extension. He was going to be that veteran player that they kind of helped, put LeBron with to help build around, and then he backed out on them. And there you go. That's how you
Who
got
was his replacement? Was it Gooden?
It was Drew Gooden.
Gooden was the replacement. That's what I
Drew
thought.
Gooden wasn't terrible, but that's not. I mean, I can't believe LeBron led that team to a finals.
I wasn't around when Boozer was a Cav.
No,
but
you were just a kid. That's my 34. I'm old. I'm old, but
or really a Jazz. I remember Carlos Boozer as a Bull on those Derrick Rose teams. That's how I remember Carlos Boozer. So I was kind of a Carlos Boozer fan. I loved those Derrick Rose Bulls teams. They were so fun to root for.
When LeBron
as a
got
young
drafted,
kid.
I was so jacked about him going there.
Yeah.
And it would have. I mean, that was when Z was really good too. You know, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, and then you had Carlos Boozer, at power forward, and then you have LeBron there. I mean, hell, they would have been really, really good. But no one really cares about a 6 seed Cavs team, and LeBron's, fighting for a 6 seed.
I was a big Cavs fan for a long, long time,
Yeah.
and then I kind of stopped watching the NBA, so I lost my fandom. But I was a big fan until I was in college. I think college is right when I stopped watching the NBA. But how much does the city of Cleveland revere Big Z? I think they love him. I was the biggest Zydrunas Ilgauskas fan maybe of all time.
Yeah, they love him.
And I feel like is he like folklore there? Is he a legend?
Oh yeah, and it was kind of weird though because he followed LeBron to
Right.
Miami.
Who-
But they didn't. They were understanding of Big Z, who was kind of chasing a ring.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "All right, you gave us everything. Go get that ring." But LeBron, we're gonna burn everything that has your name on it.
And
All
then
right.
and then come back and
Yeah.
we love you.
So let's rank some of these right now.
Okay.
We have Mo Williams, Big Z,
Roll Tide.
Anderson Varejao, Gibson, what's
Boobie.
his name? Boobie Gibson, and let me see if I can think of another one.
Mark Price.
J.J. Hickson.
J.J. Hickson, you reached real far
That was
into the
deep in the
bag for
bag.
that one.
What are the fan rankings of those
Are
players?
we
there?
really even talking about J.J. Hickson?
No.
No. Okay.
I was just thinking. I was
fair.
just thinking of the old Cavs teams that
Fair.
I used to watch.
Boobie Gibson, no, I don't think any of those guys. I mean, like I said, that was such a bad roster that he took to the finals. But Big Z, no doubt, and Anderson Varejao, those two. But that's one of those, like, they're not superstars, but like those are like big time fan favorites that everyone will always revere for their time there. But yeah, you bring up Big Z again. My tie-in with Wright State, of course. Jim Brown, who Wright State Hall of Fame coach, is Hall of Fame with the Wright State athletics program or basketball program. He shared when he was coaching with Ralph Underhill back in the day. Don't expect you guys to know some of these names, but they had a guy, Vitaly Potapenko, who was actually drafted from Wright State, was drafted number 15 before Kobe was drafted at 16.
Oh, wow.
And when he was drafted there, he left Wright State, and he gets drafted in the first round. Wright State was close to getting Big Z to come play at Wright State.
Wow.
Because Big Z wanted to go play with Vitaly Potapenko. The other way they were close to getting that done is Dirk Nowitzki, and back then no one really went and recruited foreign players at that time. Wright State was very close to getting Dirk Nowitzki to come play at Wright State as well, to play alongside Vitaly Potapenko. And, of course, that trio would have been absolutely sick.
Yeah.
They would have been the San Antonio Spurs of college basketball at that time. Right now, NBA is so global, it doesn't sound that weird at that, but right at that time, that was big. But Big Z snaps his ankle. Vitaly Potapenko says, "Forget it, I'm going to the draft." And then Dirk Nowitzki, the rest is history. But yeah,
That's crazy.
that would have been wild.
Changed Wright State
It
forever.
would.
Did you go to the parade for the NBA championship?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Didn't want to go? All right.
I wish I would have went. Looking back,
I should have gone too.
I really wish I would have went.
I thought there would have been more. I thought another one would have cut, but no. That was the weirdest little stretch of basketball. Going to the finals he went for 9 of 10 years.
Yeah, he's the best player to ever touch a basketball. It's not even close.
I mean, yeah, weird stuff. So last night, the Lakers down 15 in the fourth quarter, and Bronny James leads a comeback. He had 25 points.
There we go.
Like 8 rebounds, 7. And Bronny led the way. How about that?
Goat's son doing goat stuff.
They
Love
said
to see
they
it.
said he's going to play opening night.
He's gonna be on the opening roster. Yeah.
He's going to play on opening night with LeBron. That's
So cool.
That's wild.
It will be cool to see. I still don't like how forced it was at the time. Like, no, it could be forced. I don't care that it's forced. But I just thought the over-dramatization of it, I was just like, okay, come on.
Jordan couldn't get his son to the league.
I mean,
The picture of Jordan's son's going around very
Yeah.
funny. The comparison. But yeah, listen.
Your goat couldn't do it.
Illinois basketball. I loved Illinois basketball. But yeah, I think it's gonna be one of the coolest moments in sports.
Yeah.
Regardless of how he performs, Bronny in the NBA, and I'll stand on that hill. I think it's cool to have a father and son play together. Whether or not you think Bronny's good enough to play in the NBA, there's a lot of guys in the NBA that maybe probably shouldn't be in the NBA. And if he gets a couple minutes here and there, if he's bad, he won't be on the Lakers for a long time. LeBron's got what? How many years left does LeBron have?
I think a few.
3, 5, 4,
Yeah,
5.
two or
at the
three.
I was going to say 5 would be the max. He's not playing more than 5 years.
2 or 3 years, which means Bronny has 2 or 3 years.
Correct.
But after that,
Unless Bronny figures it out.
he very well could. And I'm not rooting against him. I think that would be so freaking cool just to kind of hand it off. And by the way, Bronny won't be the best player in the league, but it would be cool to kind of see him have a long career in the NBA. I still think LeBron tries to push 4 more years. The Olympics are in Los Angeles in 4 years. I think that it could be one of those. He tries to play up until that, and then he retires in the Olympics.
That's fair.
With Team USA.
You think he'll play in the Olympics?
I hope so. I hope he.
Oh,
I think
that would be awesome.
I mean, it's in LA, right? He could retire before then too, and just get his body right just for that little month-long stretch. But
To be clear, he can still play. So it's it's not like an aging thing. It's not a Peyton Manning situation going to the Super Bowl.
hot route.
Yeah, this is still peak male performance by LeBron James.
Bengals Giants. Bengals season on the line on Sunday. We'll preview that matchup, and also we'll dive into some more NFL talk. Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson. Which one is more likely to make their final start?
Ooh,
I would love to not
like
fumble my
that.
words.
I like that.
I would love to not fumble my words one damn time today. So let's start over.
There we go.
Justin Fields or Deshaun Watson. Which quarterback is most likely to make his final start this coming up Sunday? We have plenty more NFL stuff to dive into. This is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliott Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. The mood with the Bengals has been a little down for obvious reasons.
That's
1-4. Defense stinks. Offense really, really good. I'm watching national shows. I'm listening to Greeny this morning. They're talking about their MVP favorites, and I'm here to tell you, as one of the biggest Bengals haters out there, I would not even be able to try to find a way to not name Joe Burrow as an MVP favorite if their record was not 1-4. I think we can all agree on that at the end of the day, no matter what. But that's just that's the somber stuff you guys are dealing with the month and some change in. But as we sit here right now, how we feeling about this Giants game? How we feeling about this matchup? It's Sunday Night Football. All eyes are going to be on this matchup, no doubt. When we come in on Monday, is it going to be this loosey-goosey vibe that we have right now? Or is it going to be another somber Monday that we've had so many of 5 weeks in?
Yeah, I'm certainly optimistic. I hope the Bengals are able to get the job done. I think they will. Some good news. Good news might be a bad way to phrase it, but news that is positive for the Bengals. Malik Neighbors dialed it back in practice yesterday, said he practiced less. It was reported that he practiced less yesterday than the day before. Consecutive DNPs, but regardless, dialing it back in the open portion of practice with concussion protocol is usually a good sign on a Thursday that you're not going to play on Sunday. And the Giants don't exactly have a ton of playmakers. Malik Neighbors is incredible. Devin Singletary already trending towards out. So with both of them out, I hope this defense can have a breakthrough game and really make some changes. We talk about the players-only meeting and how it doesn't matter unless you make changes. Hopefully they make those changes this weekend. I'm not exactly terrified of Daniel Jones beating us with Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson. Malik Neighbors does absolutely scare me on the outside, but without him, I don't know that they have the weapons to score what I think the Bengals offense is going to score. I am very worried about this Giants defensive line. I think the interior of this Giants defensive line, and honestly the edge rushers as well, with Brian Burns and maybe Kayvon Thibodeau, although it doesn't look like he's going to play either. Those are great players, and regardless of how good the Giants are, that pass rush is really, really good. So the offensive line has been great so far. They're one of the best pass-blocking offensive lines in the league. Hopefully that keeps up this weekend against the pass rush, especially on the interior. That's even better than Baltimore, and we saw Baltimore have some success getting towards Joe Burrow.
I think if again, I kind of said it yesterday, if the Bengals don't win, you lose the benefit of the doubt. And right now they have no benefit of the doubt, despite how good Joe Burrow is, despite how good our offense is. The Giants are a beatable team. They're a bottom half of the league team. I'm not going to sit here and say they've got a bunch of talent. They've got a couple really good guys. And outside of that, they have nothing. Their quarterback is nothing. Their wide receiver room outside of one, nothing.
Right.
Their running back room, again, Jacob likes that room more than I do. I think it's nothing. And we can sit here and talk about, do what we got to do. The Bengals need to win this game, not by 3. They have to win the game by a lot of points. I need to see something here. I need to see signs of life. If they go out and win this game, they're losing the whole game, but somehow find a way to claw back and win, that's great. And I'm going to sit here and cheer for it on Monday and I'm going to say, yes, we're 2-4. Season's still alive. And I will. I will do that because it would be true. But at some point, they have to play like the Bengals that we thought they would be coming into the season. Now, the issue is they might not be that team. They're 1-4 right now. That notion might be lost. But I was watching some of the sports shows on various other networks yesterday, and they all have the same sentiment. You can't write them out because of how good Joe Burrow and the offense is. You can't do it. If the Bengals go out and they score 35 and the Giants score 15 or 17, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be very, very happy. I'm going to call the season back on. That's what I'll do. The defense has to show signs of life against Daniel Jones and a backup running back. They have to. So that's what we have to work with. And if Malik Neighbors doesn't play, there's zero excuse to lose this game. None. No offense to Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson. But come on. You have to stop somebody. So this is the game to do it. Blow them out. Win the game. I know Casey mentioned it on the show last night. But it is a spread situation, or it is a system situation with a lot of public money coming in on the Cincinnati Bengals, and that usually doesn't play well. There might be a replay review that goes against us there because all the public money's on us. But it's a game you have to win, and you have to crush them. Stop winning games barely. Let's go out and beat a bad team by a lot of points. You kind of did it against the Panthers, 10 points. I'll go 10 points a blowout. If you win this game by 10 points, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I mean, I said it on the show yesterday on Chatterbox Bengals that it feels
It's a
like
great point. So if you want to
Oh, go ahead. You got something to say?
It's an
Kevin?
inside joke, folks. It's an inside joke. Back to Casey McAllister, everybody.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the Bengals, if they want to have a good chance at winning this ball game script comes into play big time. They really cannot afford to get down on this team. This is probably the best defensive line they've gone up against all season long.
For sure.
For sure.
Um,
And they can get after the quarterback. They would put their offense in a really bad spot if they were to give up a couple touchdowns early on and then the offense hasn't started to click yet. It would be asking a lot of Burrow to be perfect throughout the rest of the game, which we all know Burrow can be, at least we think.
Yeah.
It would just be really, really tough. This particular matchup is actually pretty tough, if you ask me, because it's strength on strength. Their defensive line is really, really good. Our offensive line has been very, very good. They have some emerging defensive stars in their backfield. Deontay Banks right now is one of the better corners in the league at the moment. He's going to have a tall task with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
I was reading somewhere that they're going to put him on T.
Yeah,
and
double
Jamar.
That's what I would do.
I saw that on Twitter.
I'm going to ask you a question, Casey, and this is not me being a smart aleck. If this is a tough matchup for the Bengals, is every matchup a tough matchup for the Bengals?
I don't think there's an interior pass rush as good as the Giants in the NFL.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I think it's
who
a
are the
bad
teams
matchup.
right now, if you played the Bengals tomorrow, given the state of our defense and our team, who are the easy matchups the Bengals shouldn't have issues with?
I think the next 3 weeks are easier matchups than this.
Yeah, I agree with you. This was
Browns,
the game
Eagles,
that
Raiders. I think are all three easier matchups than this.
Jacob
Maybe
had-
not Eagles, but I think Eagles is close.
Jacob had the Commanders as that game before the preseason, that was the game that we would lose. This is the game I circled because of Dexter Lawrence. And I saw what happened with Matabike and how important that final sack that he had that basically killed that final drive in the fourth quarter. That was Matabike going up against Ted Karras.
Yep.
And you're basically forced to double him every single play. He's basically – no one can ever compare to Aaron Donald, but he's the closest thing at this moment in the league, like an Aaron Donald, where you have to put a lot of focus on him. You have to just put a lot of resources into defending him, and it's not a good matchup there. That being said, I have no faith in Daniel Jones either.
Right.
Like if Malik, like you said, if Malik Neighbors doesn't play, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. These guys are too good. Let me rephrase. We think what we thought about this Bengals defense is that they're talented enough that they should be able to take care of business with without one of their top weapons. We'll see how that ends up playing out because Daniel Jones actually looked pretty good. It was probably his best game versus Seattle. Now, I do think Seattle's a bit questionable. Their defense just not very good.
Yeah.
But that being said, Neither is our defense. So I don't know, man. I feel like this should be a game that they win, but they have to have the right game script. And that's really tough to do in the NFL. It's hard to manipulate the game script in your favor. So we'll see what they can do when they if they win the coin flip. Hopefully they take the ball and go down and score.
That's what
No.
No,
I think
you want to do the 2 for
always
1?
defer. Always 2 for 1.
Always
2 for 1 with this defense. Always.
I'm on the side of Casey there. I want the ball and go score. And if we can get a lead, hopefully they have to keep throwing. And if they have to keep throwing without Neighbors, I like our chances.
What I want is them to get the ball. Like, let's say it's a touchback at their own. What they get about the what?
Of course,
their
it would
own
be a
25.
touchback because
I would kick the field goal right from their own 25. Just be aggressive early.
Well, I'd probably run it 3 times first to drain the
but
clock
if you kick it on the first down, you have a couple other chances.
So you can fall on it, and then you're only at your own 25.
Let's see
then
if
you're out of field goal range.
Let's see. I mean, the Commanders tried it. The Commanders tried that method.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can kick field goals every single drive. And it worked for them, to be fair.
That's true.
They kicked 7 field goals and won the football game.
Everett makes a good point. We kind of did that in the 21 playoffs.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we
Every
did.
fourth quarter, it was
get
just
the
let's
ball.
have Evan McPherson kick the field goal right away.
So let's try it. Let's try it. No, let's try to not have Joe Burrow play at all and just cross the 50, and you're in field goal range. So kick it.
Joe Burrow, 250 passing yards, 0 touchdowns. Evan McPherson, 31 points on field goals.
Yes. That
But at
can't
that-
happen, right?
30
30
points.
Field goals.
But at that
33
time,
points.
33 points on field goals.
33.
at that
33.
time, you had a defense that was forcing turnovers and getting stops. Not as fun of a game when that's not happening. Look, Daniel Jones, I don't think strikes fear into anybody, but obviously it's not about more what Daniel Jones can do. It's more of what the defense will allow them to do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Daniel Jones is going to kill him on the ground, but 11 carries last week. He's sometimes sneaky good on the ground. He could pick up.
Well, he'll
some-
trip if you let him run far enough.
it's not-
so.
that was like record speed, wasn't it? Like record
it was like
speed.
21
that
miles an
season?
hour or something.
But he ran the ball 11 times last week. Obviously, I think it's just take what the defense gives you. But from your perspective, how'd the defense do with a running quarterback in Lamar last week as far as containing him?
Honestly, fine. I mean, the damage that Lamar did was all behind the line of scrimmage, scrambling to throw, which Daniel Jones doesn't exactly strike fear into me in that sense. He can certainly run if lanes are opened, but if Lamar Jackson's only going to run for 40 yards, I would assume Daniel Jones will be well below that.
We come in, and the defense makes him look like some of the other quarterbacks as of late. That's a problem. I think the one thing that hurt the Bengals' bad defense is you're playing a quarterback that I think is better than we thought at the time in Jaden Daniels. Lamar Jackson is not better. We know how good of a quarterback he could be, but that's a good quarterback that was taking advantage of a bad defense.
Yeah.
I don't know how good Daniel Jones is in regards to being able to take advantage of a bad defense. And that's the thing, too. It kind of goes back to Elliott's point. It's like at the end of the day, you're talking about this was a game you circled because of the defensive line for the Giants, Casey, as far as what they could do to the Bengals offense. But at the end of the day, at some point, the defense, it's getting some reinforcements back. We know that. I just can't see Daniel Jones winning a shootout with Joe Burrow. I have the Bengals in this one. We'll get to our picks later. I have the Bengals getting this one. There's just no way, in my opinion, that we saw Jane Daniels do it. Jane Daniels is an MVP candidate as a rookie. Lamar Jackson's won 2 MVPs. He's big in those moments. We know that. He can outduel Joe Burrow in a shootout. Daniel Jones can't. I just can't see that. And if he does outduel Joe Burrow in a shootout, that's not an indictment on Joe Burrow, then this defense is way worse than what we had thought. I haven't given them the benefit of the doubt. I've just chalked it up to you have a ton of defensive deficiencies and you're going up against really good quarterbacks. But you allow Daniel Jones to look like those other two, now there's no forgiveness for any of these dudes. Anarumo, anyone on the defensive side of the ball. I don't care how good Hendrickson is. Everyone's head's on the chopping block. There is no way in hell Daniel Jones should have a performance like what we saw from Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson when it comes to making those big plays through the air. I have zero faith that Daniel Jones can win a shootout with Joe Burrow. I just can't envision them losing this game. And if they do, would it be one of those, the offense doesn't have one of their best games? The offense comes out and allows the Giants to hang around. That could be an option too, which I'm not saying will happen, but that would be typical bad luck for everyone who's tuning into this team. Man, the defense shows up, they force turnovers, they get situational stops, and then the offense comes out flat. And as to your concern, the defense neutralizes Joe Burrow and the offense a little bit.
Yeah.
If they lose this one, there is like the season's it's over. It's done. There's no maybe the offense will wake up, maybe the defense will figure it out. At 1-5 with losses to the Patriots at home, the Commanders at home, and to the Giants, it's over. There's no coming back from it. My question to you guys would be, when was the last time a team like this, and I know we're all playing in hypotheticals because the game hasn't happened yet, but if they were to lose it, if they were to be 1-5, when was the last time a team with this high of expectations just won? I mean, if they lose, they're going to be on pace to win 5 games this year, 6 games. When would be a team like that had such Super Bowl high expectations and came out and just looked abysmal? Not because of health, just because they are terrible. And I can't think of one. I don't know when the last time that happened was.
Was it the Eagles with Michael Vick after that first season?
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
Maybe
They were
that
pretty
one?
bad too.
Maybe that one? Maybe one of the Saints teams? I don't know.
Nate Seltzer says Jets last year. That's not bad, but that was an injury.
That was an injury. I think when the whole team is healthy and you have Super Bowl expectations, I can't think of anybody that just falls flat on their face right from the jump and lose. Because usually there's a stretch, right? Usually there's a stretch where that team wins like 4 or 5 in a row, and then there's the collapse, kind of like the Eagles did last year.
Right.
The Eagles absolutely collapsed down the stretch.
Steelers 11-0 a few years ago.
That one?
20 season, they epic collapse down the
Epic
stretch.
collapse. Yeah. I've never seen a team like this have such high expectations and fall directly flat on their face right at the jump of the season and then just never figure it out. I don't know if there's been one. So this is a massive game, not only just for the hopes of this season, but just for the hopes of the future of the Bengals, man. Because what are the expectations next year if you lose this? And then you lose the next week, and you keep losing, and it's just a free fall, and you win 6 games this season. I don't know what the expectations would be, because we know we have a top 3 quarterback. We have a top 3 wide receiver room as of right now, but we're going to lose T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. We're going to lose somebody.
And there
Perfect
you go.
timing. So I don't know. This is a massive game, and they need to show up. They need to blow this team out. They need to blow the Giants out.
Fair enough. All right, we'll get into more of that later on in the show when we do our NFL picks, but we're going to stick with the NFL before transitioning to college here shortly. When we come back, Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, which AFC North quarterback is most likely going to make his final start on Sunday? We'll discuss all that and more coming up next. More Off the Bench when we return. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here. This is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We just, of course, talked about the Bengals-Giants game. Again, the Bengals' chances on Saturday. We'll get to our picks Sunday, here in just a little bit. All right, Justin Fields, a lot of talk about what's kind of going on in Pittsburgh right now. Obviously, they get out to that 3-0 start. Now they're 3-2. Justin Fields obviously playing some of the best football that he has played in his career, obviously, and has looked very solid in Pittsburgh. Didn't look that solid this past Sunday night against the Dallas Cowboys, nonetheless. But the Steelers have lost back-to-back games. Mike Tomlin has gone out on multiple occasions and has refused to officially name him the actual starting quarterback for the Steelers. Now we're 5 weeks in. He's started every week. You could say, well, he is the starting quarterback. I don't think he's the official starting quarterback. We won't know exactly that until Russell Wilson is cleared and is back. It sounds like, according to reports, Russell Wilson is very close to making his return, or at least being cleared to play. And when he is cleared to play, is Mike Tomlin going to continue to keep a healthy Russell Wilson over on the sideline and continue to let Justin Fields, who they intended to bring in as the backup to Russell Wilson, just continue to throw him out there? At the time, this seemed more like an easy decision because of the fact that they were 3-0. And if you're winning, why would you mess with that type of momentum? Well, they've lost back-to-back games. They got a big one coming up this Sunday, and the big question is if Russell Wilson is cleared to play after this weekend's game, Steelers win or lose, this could potentially be Justin Fields' last game. With the other team in the AFC North, you got the Cleveland Browns, and I think everyone is tired of hearing about the name Deshaun Watson. Browns fans are tired of defending Deshaun Watson as far as the quarterback is concerned, but he has not played well at all. He is statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL. I saw Hembo from ESPN Radio say today, statistically, Deshaun Watson, just to put it to make it clear how bad he has been, Jamarcus Russell, that was the worst quarterback play ever in the NFL and his numbers are borderline Jamarcus Russell at this point.
Against not good defense.
Horrible
Yes.
defenses.
Horrible defense.
This is some of the worst defenses in the NFL that they have faced. They have really good defenses coming up. I know they got the Bengals coming up around the corner, but the Eagles have pass rushers. All right, what are they going to do when they play the Chiefs and when they play the Ravens and when they play some of these really good teams coming up around the corner? They have not had to face that. The Cowboys was one of the best defenses they faced, and they had Micah Parsons at the time, and he ate them up. Right? Washington's defense not very good. They made Washington's defense look very good. They made the Giants' defense really good. They swallowed him up. Like every time he faces any elite talent, he shows he's not that guy. But the big debate is now whether Kevin Stefanski even has the ability to bench him. Sounds like some reports are saying, hey, he would probably like to bench him, but he can't. He doesn't have the power to do so. It's a ownership call or a front office call or what have you. But the bottom line is the noise is getting very, very loud. And if the Browns lose on Sunday against the Eagles, and that line, speaking of lines a little bit ago, it's not that I'm saying the Browns should be favored, but even I was a little surprised by how large that line was as far as the Eagles being favored, and an Eagles team that's not playing good football, by the way. There's a very good chance that this could be the final week that we see Deshaun Watson start in Cleveland because a lot of people are screaming for Jameis Winston at this point. So the question for you guys, what's more likely? Who is more likely to make their final start this Sunday, Justin Fields in Pittsburgh or Deshaun Watson in Cleveland?
I don't think it's going to be the last start for either of these quarterbacks, but I will say more likely, I'll say Justin Fields because I think that's strictly win-loss. I think if they win, he starts next week. If they lose, Russell Wilson starts next week. With Deshaun Watson, I think the earliest he's going to get out of there is the bye week in week 9.
I don't see a world where the Browns bench Watson just because of the money thing, which is a shame because them playing Deshaun Watson every week is openly trying to not win games. They're losing games when you make the decision to play Deshaun Watson over Jameis Winston. They're losing them intentionally. That's a tough place to be as a franchise. I do think at some point, if it's so bad, you have to do it just to appease the people that show up to your games, to appease the people that buy season tickets.
The other players.
The other players in the locker room. You can't lose everything because you gave Deshaun Watson $200 trillion before you saw if he could actually be a good quarterback.
That's basically what happened in New England. There was a quote-unquote mutiny in the locker room that Drake May was being put behind Jacoby Brissett when it was clear in practice that Drake May was the better quarterback. I think if this continues to happen in Cleveland, there might be a pushback from the players of, hey, look, we see this guy can't play, and Jameis is just fine.
I don't like going on victory laps, as you guys know. But I'm going to go on the biggest victory parade tour of all time when Deshaun Watson finally gets benched. I am going to be celebrating in the streets like I just won a World Series when that guy gets benched. I knew he was a bad quarterback the second he got to Cleveland. He's been a bad quarterback.
You did not know that.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
You knew he was a bad person. You did not know he was a bad quarterback.
I knew
There's
it.
no way in hell,
I knew
Elliot,
it.
you knew he was a bad quarterback.
Here's the thing, Ken. You don't know me.
I've
been to the future, and I've seen what Deshaun Watson is.
I've seen some things.
And despite who he is as a human being, which I detest, he is an even worse quarterback, which is saying something special. I mean, that guy can't throw a football at all. And the fact that they actively try to play him is so disgraceful to the city of Cleveland. But listen, if they want to keep losing games, lose them, because I don't want the Bengals to finish in last place. The Fields situation, it's strictly what Jacob said. If Justin Fields wins, he plays on. If he loses, he's out. And I think everybody knew that. You would be kind of crazy to say you trust Justin Fields more than Russell Wilson at this point. I think you would be. I know Jacob would disagree with me on that, but I think you'd be a little bit crazy. If it was the Bengals that had Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, I'm picking Russell Wilson 9 times out of 10. Unless Fields wins games. Because at some point, wins matter. So if you keep winning, then you keep riding the hot hand. But the second you lose, I have a better quarterback than Russell Wilson.
I just don't know what Russ can bring that Fields doesn't do better at this point is the thing. I think it's negligible passing, and Fields is an exponentially better runner. I don't know why with a bad offensive line and poor weapons, you would make the switch to the older, more statuesque quarterback. That's kind of my pushback there. I think it'll be worse for a bad Steelers team.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I've seen it with Russell Wilson. I've seen Russell Wilson have success. I've never seen Justin Fields have success. And I know he was never given a fair shot in Chicago. I get it all. But I know what Russell Wilson can be. You don't know what Justin Fields can be. And you have to ride at least the hot hand or at least try to save your season right now if you're Pittsburgh. Because if you lose this game, we know what the back half of that schedule looks like, and it's over once they hit that. So they need to win as much as they can before November, whatever it is, 24th. Right after Thanksgiving, it gets horrible for the Steelers. So if you can win 8 games, 7 games by then, maybe you got a shot. But as of right now, I think you ride with Justin Fields, and if he loses, the second he loses another game, he's out. You put Russell in. And if the Russell situation doesn't work, then you know what you unfortunately have. You got 2 quarterbacks that aren't very good.
I don't think you can go back to Fields once you put Russ in.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree 100%. I think once Russell is the starter, he remains the starter, and then after this year, you have to find somebody that can play quarterback.
Casey, what about you? Justin Fields, Justin Fields or Deshaun Watson, which quarterback is most likely going to make his final start on Sunday?
I think it just makes sense that Deshaun will probably have a little bit more time just because of the contract situation. The Steelers were committed to Russell Wilson being their starting quarterback. I don't think that's the right call. I think you ride the hot hand with Justin Fields, but just based off of that alone, I think that Deshaun will probably last a bit longer. It only takes one bad game for Justin Fields to get kicked off that starting spot. His leash is much smaller than Deshaun because clearly Deshaun's leash is massive. I mean, he's been playing awful.
There's no leash.
Yeah.
That dog's off the leash.
Yeah, I mean, he's just running wild.
Yeah,
at this
they
point,
they bought the whole park, and the dog's just running wherever.
Well, he
he
had
wants
to go
in the
knocking
park.
everyone's doors and tell them he moved into the park.
Correct. He did have to do that.
He technically did not.
That's true. That's true.
I
No,
guess
you're right.
technically not.
He didn't have to.
Get your facts right, guys. Gosh.
I saw someone point out the
Doesn't
funny
have fleas.
fact that if Deshaun Watson gets indicted with a new crime, the Browns could get out of the contract, right? And that's where we're at now. But the Browns keep paying him guaranteed money so he can keep settling out of court, so he can stay on the Browns and keep getting money and keep settling out of court, so that he'll never get.
Do you agree that it's the worst transaction in sports history?
No, I still think Russell Wilson is.
I don't think it's the worst quarterback trade of the last 5 years.
That's so crazy, guys.
No, hold up on this.
I think Bryce Young and
you
Russ are
don't
worse.
think you don't think it's a top 3 transaction?
I think Bryce Young and Russ are worse, so I'd put it 3.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's good, but I think the dislike for Deshaun is putting him at the top of everyone's list. When the Bryce Young one is still pretty bad, but the Russell Wilson one, I mean, you literally have a team that is Denver is literally paying starting quarterback money to the backup quarterback in Pittsburgh right now. Like that's and if Pittsburgh goes on to make the playoffs and Denver doesn't, you paid for the starting quarterback to lead them there. Like that to me still Denver's is still very bad. Russell Wilson's just more likable. That's the only reason it's not viewed as bad. Deshaun being the bad, with the bad everything that surrounds him, right? Like that's what it just makes it easy to put him at the top of that list. But to be fair, even when the Browns were winning with him, people were still putting that at the top of the list because people just don't like Deshaun.
I do think that regardless of even if he was a great quarterback, I think it would be a top 3 worst transaction for me.
Even if he was good?
If he was good and was leading you to the playoffs every year, anything short of a Super Bowl, I think that was a terrible trade. You gave too many assets for one player with major question marks.
That's my thing. I think there was far too many questions than answers with that, and giving him your entire payroll. It's your
immediate
future.
future
But
franchise.
at no point were the Browns without. I mean, there was a good 2-year stretch, 3-year stretch where they had one of the best rosters in football every single year. And so I could see if they did that and they had all these needs still, and man, you could have addressed those needs with draft picks, but they didn't really have a whole lot of needs. Like, that's why I can't get on board with that from that perspective. Like, the whole point of draft picks is to get guys that are going to help you win. Well, those draft picks, they gave those away to get the quarterback. The quarterback just failed, as we talked about yesterday. But no, to go back real quick to the original point of this, I think both, and to everyone's a fair point here, whoever gets benched, both could be benched after this weekend. Obviously, an injury to who replaces them could bring Deshaun back. Like if, obviously Jameis Winston gets hurt and then Deshaun's thrown right back out there to start. Obviously, that can happen. But as far as who's most likely to get benched, or maybe I could have reworded it, who's most likely to get benched after this week, I think there's a very good chance Justin Fields is more likely to be benched. Only because even if they win, even in the wins, Justin Fields hasn't looked dominant. It's not like Justin Fields has been leading the Steelers to victories. He's been staying out of their way a little bit, which is key, no doubt. But even Russell Wilson last year with Denver, I know you're out on him, but again, 28 touchdowns. He had a QBR. I think his rating was about 98. He completed 64% of his passes, which I think is like third best throughout his career. I'm not saying he's great, but I still would feel more comfortable with a veteran, proven quarterback that still played okay football last year over continuing to try to convince everybody that Justin Fields is a good starting NFL quarterback. That's why I'd feel more comfortable with Russell Wilson there for the Steelers. Plus, as you head into that gauntlet back half,
Oh, yeah.
I'd much rather have Russell Wilson for that than Fields. Now, to be fair to Jacob, Russell could first game just look absolutely as lost as Deshaun Watson, and then it's all a moot point at that, at that situation. So who knows? But nonetheless,
You just have to be sure that you have a better chance with Russ than Fields, because once you pull Fields, you cannot go back. So if Russ is worse, you're stuck for 10 weeks. And I think if you can shorten that to 8, 7, or 6, I think you might be in a better spot.
if they stick with Justin Fields, if you're the Seahawks, because keep in mind, Russell had a problem with Pete Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Carroll's gone. If you're the Seahawks, do you entertain some kind of move to try to get Russell Wilson from the Steelers back over there in Seattle? Let him finish his career in Seattle.
I like what I've seen out of Geno. And I know he struggled last night a little bit, but I do really like what I've seen out of Geno. I think he's been,
I think you'd roll with Geno. I think there's a lot of teams that would roll.
I think
with
if
Geno.
Russell Wilson's in Seattle, you're still comfortably starting Geno Smith.
Yes,
Comfortable.
I agree. Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson
Yeah.
today. Yes.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think Geno Smith's a top 10 quarterback, but I think he's pretty good.
I think he's
pretty good.
I think he's a top 15 now.
He looks more mobile than he has in recent years even now. I mean, he's rolling out of the pocket very well. The arm looks live last night. I mean, 2 interceptions weren't great, but one was miscommunication. I think he's a good quarterback. I wouldn't run to trade for a quarterback if I'm Seattle. I would certainly be looking in the draft for a guy I could stash behind him, because I think that's the biggest hole in this team for being a championship contender, that and health. But I think Geno Smith's a fine quarterback.
He's fine.
All right, this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. What segment was that, by the way?
4.
Oh, we're 4 in?
We
Look at
are.
us.
We're 4 in.
We're cruising on a Friday.
4 in.
Four in.
because
Look at
The
us, all
first
this-
one was nothing.
Look at us, all this sports talk. Not Cool Whip and pumpkin pie and all that nonsense that we opened up the
That's
show
right.
with.
That's
but,
right.
By the way, we have a super chat. We didn't read it yet, but Molly, shout out to Molly. Operation Pumpkin Festival in Hamilton this weekend. Save me some beers.
That's right.
Beers. So have fun.
There you go.
Up pump.
I'll pump.
Up pump.
I'll pump.
Casey's going to pay some bills.
That's right.
And then we'll get into some college football discussion. Jacob, it sounds very generic-y, but Ohio State, Oregon, both teams need a win. Every team needs a win.
That's right.
But obviously, if either of these teams lose on Saturday, they're not out anything. Their championship dreams are still alive. Their playoff dreams are still alive. But with that being said, one of these teams, in my opinion, needs a win more than the other. And we'll discuss that when we come back on the radio side. This is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, and ESPN 1410 Wing AM in Dayton. It's a Ryan Day thing, so.
Yep, I'm supposed to be paying the bills.
That's right.
Totally forgot about that.
Hey-o.
Pawnee Water.
Just whip it at him.
You ready?
Give it everything you got.
Oh,
Casey.
hold on. I always got to catch this.
Give it everything you got.
Waiting for Kenner. He's getting his camera ready.
It's always a great moment when we see Elliot's
see the arm
athletic
strength.
ability.
Arm
Ready,
strength.
set, go.
I think I might have hit the ground.
He kind of
It
said you
hit
have
the
to
ground,
fail.
but if I didn't use that,
I think it was incomplete, though. You can't trap it on the ground.
Yeah, I can. That was a completed catch.
gotta
I
get
had
your hands
possession.
underneath.
I had possession.
Can we run it back?
Yeah, run it back.
Well, no, I mean a replay. We need to know for sure.
Oh well, just throw it again.
You ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
That's a good catch.
that was
See?
that was pretty good.
And by the way, that's all cap. No cap.
That's right. No cap.
Cap
best
or
water in
no
the world.
cap with Kenner and Kev.
That's right.
Former segment. That can we actually have
Former
that segment?
co-host.
Can we have that segment?
now?
Can we
I
have-
tried it. You vetoed it right away. I think the
you
first
did
week
veto it.
I
Did
was
I?
here. The
Yeah.
first week I was here doing this show with you guys. We
did
tried
it.
cap or no cap, and he
We did
vetoed it.
He did. You are the one that vetoed it.
All right. Well, I want it back.
All right, cap or no cap will make its return next week.
Big time.
No cap.
Yeah.
No cap. Pawnee Water. No rocks.
Ohio State fans aren't happy with my hoodie in the chat.
Yeah, I had a buddy's mom
disgusting.
text me and say, absolutely, you need to be kicked off the show for the Oregon hoodie.
But
She said she appreciated that you were so nice about David Bell all year, so she's going to keep tuning in.
Pawnee Water.
Shout out to Kathy Carell, by the way.
Pawnee Water. Made right
a
here
great
in
point,
Hamilton,
Casey.
Ohio. I'm sure they're out there at Operation Pumpkin, so definitely check them out. buy a couple bottles from them. You can buy some more bottles if you really want them at pawneewater.com, PAHHNI water.com. Elliot, what do you like about this lovely bottle of water right here?
For me, it's the smoothness.
Nice.
When you drink it, it's nice and smooth when it goes down the gullet. Jacob, I'm going to toss this to you. What's your favorite thing about it?
The lack of rocks is
That's
my
it?
favorite thing because, as you said, it slides down the gullet, and what could stop that?
That's right.
A few pebbles.
Correct.
But that natural limestone filtration is
it
the best water in
filtrates.
the world. Kinner,
What's
what are
your
your
favorite thing?
thoughts?
So I am. I didn't really have the second part of that planned. I just knew I was going to do
It's
that.
fair.
You're just gonna-
Yeah, that works. That works.
For safety reasons.
That
You didn't want to throw it?
Oh, he's not going to throw it.
Oh, Pawnee water.
Pawnee water. We still didn't get to hear
I
what you like.
respected the product, not throw it around the room. I wanted to handle it with care.
Nice, gentle care that Kenner gave that. Lovely bottle of water. Encore.
That's right.
Encore.
Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Cook and roll. with
Bengals
the
report.
Brooklyn Boys.
And I'm sure they do the Reds report, Bearcats report, Xavier report. All the nice Cincinnati teams around here.
All the reports.
All the nice, lovely reports. Proudly sponsored by Encore Technology. At Encore, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world, from mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions. They help businesses enhance efficiency and
Productivity.
Productivity.
Why?
productivity. Good job, Jimbos.
Thank you.
Path to innovation begins here, there, everywhere. Are we doing box lunch after this?
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Okay.
So bring your lunches, and we'll go ahead and box them up for you.
Yeah, we'll box it up. Quiplash? Is that today or is that?
Yeah. Let's t-shirt game. Let's play the t-shirt
We'll
game.
do t-shirt game
Let's
today?
play a t-shirt
T-shirt
game.
game today.
T-shirt game.
We haven't played the t-shirt game in a long time.
Okay, we're gonna play some T-shirt game after this, and if you haven't done so, check out Chatterbox Bengals. We did that yesterday.
That's right. Podcast
Podcast available.
Podcast is available.
It is.
Thank you, Jacob.
Of course.
Other than that, I don't think we have anything else, so we can go back.
We do. I want to see Elliot stand over by the green.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
no, you do
yeah,
have to- you do
yeah.
have
We
to
got
do
to see
that.
you stand over by the
You're
green
gonna
screen.
have to.
Elliot.
You're gonna have to do that.
I'll do that at the end of the show.
You're
Nope,
gonna have to do
you're
it
doing it now.
I'll do it at the end of the show.
I think you're. But the thing is, I think you're gonna have to do it now.
I'll do it at the end of the show.
But
here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
I don't think we're gonna move on until you do.
I mean,
it.
like
That's
a
fine.
very
That's
good
fine.
point. Okay.
That's fine. Here's the thing about these podcast listeners that we don't even talk about our great podcast listeners. We talk about the radio side. We talk about those watching on YouTube. We don't even talk about the people who listen to the
That's right.
podcast side. Podcast side's going to have a terrible time right now because I'm just going to sit here all day.
I'll explain what's happening.
So
That's-
you're gonna like talk about how great our podcast listeners are, but then
Not
do a
show them.
disservice by.
Well, I'm doing them the service of standing up for something.
What are you standing?
Well, you're
You
sitting
won't
down.
even stand up
You
out of the
won't stand
chair.
up for
I mean,
anything.
he doesn't even have to go over there. I could just move my camera over there, and
Oh,
it'll show that he's gonna blend in. So how about I do that?
let's do that
Yeah. How about I just
Yeah.
shift this camera on over
whenever you're ready.
and
Whenever you're ready.
And whapa!
Wow.
Oh, where's Elliot? Where's Elliot?
There we go.
Whoa! Look at that.
That's incredible.
He's just blending right
How about
in.
that? That's pretty cool, actually.
That's incredible.
You've got the nice old.
Please stand over there now.
You got the nice old background, the
Look at
Cincinnati.
that. It's like
skyline.
blue.
That's cool.
It's like you have a hoodie of the city of Cincinnati.
So if you sat in the chair next to Casey, it would just be the worst visual show of all time.
I'll sit over there for the next segment. I'll sit in that chair for the next segment.
you could do whatever you want, but I guess I just have a question: is why? Like, why can't you get up now? I mean, like I said, it's
'Cause
America.
You always
dude.
gotta, listen. You always got to keep them on their toes. You can't give them exactly what you want.
You're wearing a green screen hoodie.
I'll get up and do it later.
Oh, what a time.
What a time
What
to
a
be
time.
alive. We're back to Radio Land now. There you go.
That's right. There we go. Yeah, Ginner has to go back.
All right, and we are back. This is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, ESPN 1410 Wingham and Dayton. All right, so our radio listeners, I don't know why Elliot did this. We were off radio. Then
We
we
were
go back
off
on
radio, and now we're going to
he
do a
wants
visual
this.
segment on radio.
That is called keeping people on their
That's
toes.
right.
That's what he
right.
wanted.
My toes couldn't be more on.
So,
right now.
radio listeners, you're going to have to go back to the Off the Bench episode on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube to see what we're talking about here. But Elliot came in, as we're about to talk Ohio State, Oregon. Elliot came in today wearing the most greenest Oregonist shirt you could think of. And right now, he is standing in front of our green screen. It is green screen green. It's Oregon green, but it is green screen green. Let's send it down to Elliot, who is awkwardly standing behind Casey. Or is he?
Yeah, I don't know where he's
Elliot!
Oh,
Look at that. Hey,
Visual
give Casey a
segments on
hand.
a radio show, baby.
Oh, look at that.
That's magical. That's
Technology. I mean, all I see is Elliot just kind of twerking behind Casey over here from my angle.
The
but
face,
you know,
the face just emerges when he turns around.
it's like a floating head, dude.
He's like a ninja. He like blends in, and then boom, there he is.
That's
Look at that.
incredible. Casey, they're politely asking you in the chat to change what shows up on his back.
Oh, chat. Let's see what I can do real quick.
Maybe we play with the green screen during box lunch.
Maybe.
No, we've started this.
We're gonna end it here?
This is radio, folks.
This is incredible.
This is recorded live radio.
You gotta hide the Oregon sweatshirt as much as possible. So this is the plan.
This is a Friday show if I've ever been a part of one.
Maybe the most Friday show ever.
I mean, this is a segment for radio.
This is we're on the radio.
We're on the radio.
On the radio doing
They don't get the bid at all.
visual
They listen to
segment.
their cars.
Yeah. No, this is gonna get someone on top of their car.
I just see Joe Burrow looking down, looking sad with
Joe
the hand
Burrow with
next to
Elliot's
him.
hands.
You know, with Elliot's hands.
Probably bigger. This is a good segment.
This is a great
This
segment.
is a really good segment.
All right, that's it.
Yeah,
You guys
you know.
have fun yet?
Well, we did, but like I just don't understand it. Like we were off
Why
radio.
wouldn't we do that off radio?
And then I say, okay, we're back live on radio, and then you sprinted out of the chair. I mean, it's a great bit. I loved it. I'm not even mad at it. But Oregon Elliott sits down now, and he's ready to rock. He's ready
Hood's
to go.
still up.
Hood's still up.
Hood's still up. There you go. All right, college football, Ohio State, Oregon.
That's right. Game of the year?
I don't know what motivated us to talk about it. I mean, I think Georgia, Alabama was right. Wait, which one do you think was bigger? Georgia, Alabama was a huge game. Does the Vanderbilt loss set this one up?
Well, a team
to
that
be-
lost to Vanderbilt and the team that lost to a team that lost to Vanderbilt can't be the game of the year.
So we're scrapping that. So this is the game of the year.
I think next week is going to be game of the year.
What's next week?
Georgia,
Tennessee
Texas.
and
Georgia, Texas, right?
Alabama, Tennessee. Man, it's another good week next weekend.
Oh, yeah. And my friend's getting married? What's that about?
On that Saturday?
Ugh,
That's
disgusting.
brutal. Are you in the wedding?
I am.
So Alabama, I see, opens up as a 2.5-point favorite.
Yeah, not to change the topic. We can get back to Ohio State. But yeah, 2.5-point favorite at Tennessee, and I don't know why.
This might be as bad as the opening. I mean, that was something. That was.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know why Alabama's favored next week, but we got great games this week to talk about first.
So Ohio State, Oregon coming up this weekend, and you know what happens when we have these big time matchups is you got to do the generic. Which one needs the win more?
That's right.
It's very generic-y. It's lazy. And I'm a lazy guy, so that's
right.
what we're getting. I have no problem. Like, you know, it is what it is. I'm not trying to be super creative here. But look, the bottom line is I try to look at it from a perspective of urgency. Which team do you feel like has to have the most urgency with this matchup? Oregon is new to the Big Ten. They're the number 3 team in the country. Just like Texas in the SEC, who's making a splash right now as the number 1 team in the country, they're both trying to fight one another for who's going to have the most impressive transition to their new power conference, right? Like that's kind of what's happening here between Oregon and Texas. But the difference is Texas, the ironic part is their very first true real SEC test is actually Oklahoma. That's kind of wild to me. Their first real test in the SEC is Oklahoma, right? But with Oregon in the Big Ten, their first Big Ten test is the Big Ten test. It is the Buckeyes, and it's coming up Saturday night. 7:30 the kickoff, 6 o'clock pregame coverage begins right here on 1410 ESPN Radio for the radio listeners, of course. But Oregon, obviously, they have the home field advantage. That atmosphere is going to be fantastic. Obviously, it's going to be a big it's the game of the year.
I think so.
Game of the year, right?
think
Ohio
so.
State at Oregon. But my concern about all of this is it wasn't even a calendar year ago where we were doubting Ryan Day. We were doubting this program. They had lost to Michigan for the 3rd straight year. They lost to Missouri in the bowl game. And a lot of people were down on Ryan Day. I've never been the get rid of Ryan Day guy, but I started to build a little doubt. I felt the program was getting soft. I felt that the program was losing its confidence. I was losing my confidence as a Buckeye fan. And then all of a sudden, the NIL collective and just the Ohio State offseason and Ryan Day rallying the troops, kind of changed the perception of this program heading into the season. Ryan Day did a very good job, all things considered, with losing to Michigan 3 straight years, losing that bowl game to Missouri, the program seeming flat from a optimism standpoint. He did a good job of keeping those guys united, keeping those guys willing to want to come back and contend for a national championship and to finally get that win over Michigan, right? But there's a little doubt I still have in the back of my mind about how does Ryan Day fare in big games? Because Ohio State, they're supposed to win big games. They're supposed to be a national championship contender. But they regularly, during the Ryan Day era, despite a couple big wins here and there, they lose big games way more than they win. And that's not a hot take. That's not an opinion. That is a fact. This team loses a lot of big games. We'll share it up on the screen now. This is during the Ryan Day era in Columbus. Ryan Day has lost so many big games during his time at Ohio State as the head coach. We'll start in 2019. Right, you lose to Clemson in 2019. That was the flag. Remember they picked up the flag, and then obviously that's how the Ryan Day era started. But that was the Justin Fields year. That was a fantastic season that had a controversial finish. 29-23 the final. Fields throws that interception late in that game, but that was a fun Fields versus Trevor Lawrence matchup in that. Okay, we could forgive him for that. It was a close one. Urban Meyer lost close games during that stretch.
It was a fumble.
It was the fumble that they didn't. What was that? What was the controversy?
The catch on the sideline. Justin Ross, Jeff Okudah stripped it. They
that's
called
right.
It incomplete, and it was absolutely a fumble.
That was the one. And again, there was the officiating that dominated that conversation, no doubt.
Sean Wade targeting on Trevor Lawrence definitely wasn't. Oh, that was a terrible game.
Still sitting with you, huh?
Terrible
Still
game.
sitting with you.
Yeah.
Now, that's a loss I don't necessarily put on Ryan Day. That was one of the classic college football playoff matchups. Okay, cool. 2020, Alabama. You get to the national championship game. In fact, Ryan Day vindicated himself by beating Clemson a year later the semifinal to get to Alabama, so I don't want to forget mentioning that, right? That was that DJ Uiagalelei year. I got that one down. That was the last time he was good, right? I think because, they beat Notre Dame that year. Clemson did to get to the
But
playoff.
Trevor was back for the Ohio State game.
Yeah. So, he was. That is right. Okay,
Yeah.
see, I'm all over the
DJ
place.
played the one game when Trevor was out with COVID against Notre Dame, put up crazy numbers. Trevor was back for that playoff game, though.
And then Notre Dame still made the playoff that year, which
Right.
is wild.
Right.
But no, so Ohio State, they faced number 1 Alabama after finally knocking off Clemson in the semifinal before. And they don't just lose to Alabama, they get beat down by Alabama. But okay, you know what? It's COVID. We can overlook that. It was a very weird season. Getting to the title game, more power to you. But then that's where things started to get a little interesting. You lose to Clemson, you lose to Alabama, 19 Clemson, 20 Alabama. And then you got Oregon at home, non-conference portion of the schedule at this point. You lose to Oregon 35-28. Well, that's fine. You still have a chance to make the playoff. Just take care of business in the Big Ten and beat your rival. You'll be fine. And they don't just lose. They get beat down by number 5 Michigan that year. All right, 2022, it's a new year. You lose to Michigan 45-23, back-to-back years losing to your rival. But don't worry, you have a chance to redeem yourself in the semifinal of the college football playoffs. And they lose to Georgia 43-42 in what was an instant classic. I mean, my gosh, it came down to the kick at the very end. It was an unfortunate loss for Ohio State, but a loss nonetheless. You lost to Georgia. You lost to Michigan for the second straight year. You lost to Oregon in the non-conference earlier that year. You lost to Alabama in the national championship game. You lost to Clemson in the semifinal the year before. And then you get to last season. You lose to Michigan for the third straight year, right? You lose to Michigan for the third straight year. Then you get to take on top 10 Missouri in the bowl game. And that was an embarrassing loss, 14-3. A lot of stars out, completely get it. But that's just, a few of those big games that they have lost throughout the time that Ryan Day has led this Buckeye program. Now, there's some good wins in there. I talked about the Clemson win in the semifinal that set up that national championship loss against Alabama. For me, I'm going to be nitpicky here. I don't consider the Notre Dame games that big of wins. I'm not going to, for championship standards that Ohio State has, I'm not going to sit here and say, my gosh, I can't believe we beat a 3-loss Notre Dame team. I can't believe we beat a 4-loss Notre Dame team the year before with that loss to Marshall. Those are good wins. I appreciate the Kyle McCord road game, the come from behind one. Where's Lou Holtz right now? I appreciate that one a little just because the atmosphere. But overall, Ryan Day has a habit of losing way too many big games in Columbus as head coach. He's won 88% of his games. He's a fantastic head coach. But I do believe if you lose to Oregon on Saturday night, I think that doubt that started to creep in a lot of fans after the third loss to Michigan and the loss to Missouri in the bowl game, I think that doubt starts to come back. And I think that doubt's going to be very hard to ignore as we head into the bigger part of the schedule, because you still have Nebraska and Penn State coming up. You still got Michigan as you're trying to end that 3-game losing streak. Then you got the college football playoff. And there's not just a semifinal final. Now you got to win up to 4 games to win this whole thing, maybe 3. So my concern in this whole situation, Oregon can lose this, they'll be fine. Most likely get back to the Big Ten championship. If Ohio State loses it, I think the doubt that started to creep in Buckeye fans' minds about Ryan Day and the state of the program after that Missouri loss, I think it comes back. And I think it's going to be more alarming because of, how many people we've touted the $20 million in NIL spend. We've talked about this roster. I mean, Judkins, you add him to Trevion Henderson, you bring Caleb Downs in, you bring in Will Howard. I think it's a very crucial loss if they lose on Saturday, in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This game means a ton for Ohio State. This is the first big test of the season where you are truly national championship or bust. And we can argue if they are every single year or not, but this year there's no debate about it. And the fact that you have a graphic right there with 8 big-time losses on it for Ryan Day, that shows you that it's a problem. But I think with this Ryan Day conversation, it's important to remember that with those 8 big-time losses, he is 61-8. Those are the only 8 games he has lost. He has dominated the conference. He has dominated every single team that he's supposed to dominate. And I know it doesn't matter unless you win championships and in Columbus unless you beat the rival. But Ryan Day's been a dominant head coach. He's been phenomenal. And if he goes to Eugene and loses to the 3rd best team in America, I'm not going to feel any type of way about it. If he turns around and loses to him again in Indianapolis, then we have the conversation about, not being able to make adjustments and really not being the upper echelon head coach that we think he is. But I 100% agree that Ohio State needs this the most, and it's because of the outside noise. It's because of the distrust in Ryan Day and all that's built up over 3 straight years of losing the game to Michigan. But for me personally, either way this game goes, other than getting blown out or ran out of Autzen Stadium, regardless of how this game goes, my opinion on this Ohio State team, my opinion of Ryan Day will not change. I think Oregon's a very good team, and I think Oregon is getting overlooked, maybe not by the Buckeye players and coaches, but by a lot of Ohio State fans. I see a lot of people putting out there 3.5-point spread. This is going to be a walk in the park. We're going to boat race Oregon. Dillon Gabriel doesn't have it anymore. These receivers aren't very good. The O-line is poor. And while a lot of that stuff might be true and the film doesn't look as good as we thought it would, overlooking the 3rd best team in the country going on the road to one of the best atmospheres in college football is certainly not the route I'm going to take. So I think this is as much of a toss-up game as you can get. I think this is right up there with Alabama, Georgia, right up there with what will be Georgia, Texas, with games of the year. I think these 2 teams are bona fide national championship contenders. I'm not going to be out on either with a loss. Ohio State definitely needs it more, but I think it's important to put in perspective how good Oregon is when we're talking about this game.
How many coaches are better than Ryan Day? Like that could come into Ohio State and be a better head coach, give you more confidence.
I think it would take time to rebuild with Nick Saban retiring and Urban out. Kirby's right there at the top of his game. Mac Brown is an interesting name.
Kirby's number 1 by a country mile.
He's won a title, but it's Kirby number 1, but after that, rebuilding the top college football list. I mean, because Dabo's in there with multiple national championships, but I don't know if I put him at the top of my list.
There's not a coach other than Kirby Smart I'd rather have than
Dabo doesn't believe in the NIL, so that would be.
He doesn't take transfers. How's that going to work?
Yeah, not a big fan of that.
Imagine being an NFL coach.
I love DeBoer. I wouldn't take him right now.
I'm not a college football guy, but and I get the expectations at Ohio State are obviously different. They have one of the highest paid rosters in college football. But at the same time, you quite literally couldn't have more success than Ryan Day. I know, I know you the losses to Michigan suck, and he has 1 national championship.
He has 1 national championship.
Ryan Day hasn't 0. So I guess that's the thing. The expectation is always national championship, and if you don't get it, your head's on the chopping block. But I for me, it's for somebody who doesn't watch a ton of college football, there's maybe 2 names. I'd take it Ohio State over Ryan Day.
And the thing is, with those 2 names, whatever those 2 names might be, you think you can get them? No. You're not calling Georgia and getting Kirby Smart to Columbus. The only chance of him ever leaving Georgia was last year, going back to the place he was the defensive coordinator at Alabama. And if he didn't do that, then he's never leaving Georgia. And I don't know why he would. So I think you're probably looking at an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator hire. And at this point with Ohio State's coaching staff, if you fire Ryan Day, I would assume it's Chip Kelly. even though he's voiced his displeasure with coaching. Brian Hartline being thrown out in the chat, but there were rumors about when the UC job opened that he came down and didn't have a great interview for that spot, so I don't know if he's exactly cut out to be a head coach. I think Ryan Day is a great head coach, and I don't throw great around lightly with head coaches. I think Ryan Day is a great head coach. I think it takes something special to be 61-8 playing in the second best conference in college football, consistently playing top-level talent, making it to a national championship, consistently making it to the playoff, winning 3 Big Ten championships in a row. I think all that stuff is very, very, very hard to do. And I understand that he can't beat Michigan. And if he doesn't do it this year, he will be fired. But I think Ryan Day is a great coach, and I think the only game that his job is on the line for this year is the Michigan game.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get all of that. And by the way, just to be clear, I'm not anti-Ryan Day.
No, I know.
But I'm also, I don't think the people that are wrong until I hear you say, okay, you want Ryan Day gone. Who else are you going to get?
Right.
Because it's Chip Kelly better than Ryan Day? It's a name. It's a recognizable name that's been around longer, so you're going to feel more safe and warm inside. And maybe Chip Kelly, with the resources that Ohio State has, does maximize those more. The problem is, I know you say, hey, with the 8 losses that he's had in his entire career, the only team he can't seem to beat is Michigan. But it's like, of all the losses, I don't know if that helps him or hurts him, because you bring up a good point. Hey, look at those losses. Yeah, it's the Georgias and Alabamas of the world. That's who he's losing to. But it's like, but that's the problem. Every time you run into those teams, you're losing. You're losing a lot of big games. He loses a ton of big games. He has way more big game losses than big game wins, but the winning percentage is astounding. I mean, the fact that, again, single-digit losses, this is year 7 for him or year 6 for him? What year is this for him?
He took over in
19, so 5.
Right?
So he's in, yeah. But either way, I mean, he's been around for quite some time. They do need to get that championship. But to be fair to him, this idea that he has to win every year, we love that as Buckeye fans. I know not everyone in the chat's Buckeye fans, but they average a championship a decade. They average a national championship a decade. They had one in the 2010s with Tressel. They had one in the 2000s with Tressel, one in the 2010s with Urban, and here we are. It's been 10 years since the last one. This is your number 10. Maybe this is the year this is your one for the decade.
I'm in.
But
I'm in. I'll take it. I'll take it this year. I think Ohio State's trending in the right direction. I think another thing that you have to look at, especially in current era college football, when talking about Ryan Day, is whether we like it or not, it's a lot more than winning and losing at this point in college football. And Ryan Day has been able to dominate recruiting and dominate the transfer portal and continue to get top-end talent at Ohio State at literally every position. So I think that means a lot, too. I think, firing a guy because he loses big games is certainly one thing. And if Ryan Day wasn't maybe, arguably, now with Saban gone, the best recruiter in America, I would certainly lean more that way. But I think that plays a massive role. And I hate to say more than winning and losing, but we talk about in baseball, would you rather just get to the playoffs and roll the dice every year, or would you rather guarantee a championship? And obviously you can't guarantee a championship. But if Ryan Day is consistently putting out one of the most talented rosters in college football, I have to think in a 12-team playoff we're going to get lucky at some point. So I'm going to take the recruiter.
this is the arrogance as a Buckeye fan, but how much of that is Ryan Day and how much of that is just the brand of Ohio State?
Every coach at every university in the country gets credit for recruiting, regardless of brand, except for Ryan Day.
Yeah, we talked about this in the past. They get all these top receivers, and Brian Hartline gets all the credit.
I think Hartline's a phenomenal recruiter, but Ryan Day is in those rooms, and Ryan Day is 61-8, and Ryan Day makes a difference.
Yep. So, nonetheless, but Ohio State, Oregon, can't wait.
Cannot wait.
I see why people are
so glad tonight, game 2.
Yep.
Shout out Big Ten for not squeezing this sucker in big noon kickoff like they do with every other good game. Night game in Autzen. This is gonna rock. This weekend is for guys like me who sit here all year and say college football is the best sport ever and you should watch regardless of the numbers next to the teams. This is the weekend that it's like, just sit down on Saturday, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, grab a seat on the couch, sit there for 12 hours, because at 11 o'clock at night, we have Boise State and the Heisman favorite on the island against Hawaii. 12 hours of elite football on Saturday. Lock
Is there a
in.
London game on
It's
Sunday
going to be a
too?
great one. London game on Sunday. Bengals at Sunday Night Football. This is going to be an incredible football weekend. Ranked game tonight. Utah plays tonight. Just a phenomenal weekend for football.
All right, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. All right, we wrap up the radio side of things with giving you our NFL picks heading into the weekend. More off the bench when we come back. All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here Man, it's a big game on Sunday Night Football. Bengals
It is.
Giants.
It is.
In fact, it's such a big night that it's a bobblehead night. It's a bobblehead night. Yes, this is like I felt like it's like a Cincinnati Reds promotion.
Ellie? Is it Ellie?
The fans are already lining up.
John Mara?
The first 25,000 fans at Sunday night's Bengals Giants game will receive a Tom Coughlin bobblehead in celebration of the team's 100th season. The Giants will honor their 2007 and 11 Super Bowl championships at halftime.
Oh no, it's Tom Coughlin night.
It's Tom Coughlin night.
Teams are 1-0 this year on Tom Coughlin
You
nights.
can't. There was another Tom Coughlin night.
Yeah, Jags put him in their Ring of Honor and won their first game of the week last week. Or first game of the year last week.
Back to
NFL
back?
teams
Is
are
he going on
1-0
tour?
in Tom Coughlin nights, and we're going back to back, and we got to go to New York in prime time for Coughlin night. Casey, what's the road prime time stat?
We are like 1-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
But Joe Burrow's 1-1 on Sunday Night Football.
Right,
so.
there we go. We'll take it. Yeah,
So,
not great. Coughlin night, man, that stinks.
I do know this: the Reds bobblehead people are way better than. I mean, this.
That's a good one. I like
That's
the
a good
headset.
one.
I like the headset.
He looks like he's in his 20s
Yeah, Tom Coughlin. They should have made him really, really red.
and old.
Really red from that one cold
Maybe
game.
the Bengals should hire Tom Coughlin,
To do what?
coach.
I don't know that he can stand for 60 minutes anymore.
Well, you
He's
could
an
try.
old man.
You don't have to.
Tom Coughlin bobblehead night.
That's right.
Sunday Night Football. 25,000 fans.
Dangerous.
We'll be walking around with that very expensive piece of plastic or whatever. What are bobbleheads made of?
I think porcelain?
Sure.
Is that porcelain? That ain't
I
porcelain.
don't know. They break more than plastic if you drop them.
I mean, that would explain why Marty and Tom's head is on the lunchbox over here.
Marty and Tom's head have.
Can we pick Marty up, please? I mean, you sit behind Marty every day, and Marty's head is just laying down. Help a guy out.
That
would
man
you?
hired Terry Francona.
He did.
That's wild. By the way.
Wild.
So
We picking games
especially-
or not?
And because because Marty was on the show that day, and he's like, well, if I'm a general manager, here's who I'd call. And I'm like, as this whole time, you're a double agent. You were helping them the whole time.
That's hilarious.
So, nonetheless, by the way, no shot at Marty or the Reds here. But if you heard another team use their retired radio broadcaster to help you hire a coach, would you make fun of that? Because I feel
No
like I
comment.
would. I feel like I would.
No comment.
Okay, because you're agreeing, but I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
Oh,
not
yeah.
that's not a shot at Marty, not a shot at the Reds,
No
but
comment.
it can be.
That's our official statement.
Oh, the
from this
official
side of the
stance
room.
is no comment
No
from the
comment.
stage.
if the
coach,
team that traditionally loses a lot said, hey, our front office didn't have the connections to Terry Francona, we had to go to our retired Hall of Fame legendary broadcaster that we all love. I'm not taking a shot at Marty by any means. All I'm saying is kind of weird. I just want it to be known, kind of weird, but thank God for Marty.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm glad you agree, but we'll just leave it at that because I could see you guys squirming over there. It's weird. I'm
Putting
just
us in a
saying.
bad position, Kenner.
No, because I put out the disclaimer. It's not a shot at Marty. That's how much power he has. That's all. Hey, want to do picks? Want to do NFL picks? Would that be the right thing to do? My
Yeah,
bad.
that works.
Do we have? Oh, my bad. I thought there's some breaking news or
No.
something.
Nothing at all.
There was breaking news. It just can't go over there. We'll have
Nothing
to tell
at
you
all.
after. We'll have to
Nothing
tell you
at all.
after.
Ooh, I love inside jokes. Can't wait to be a part of one someday.
That's right.
Not a joke.
Not a joke, unfortunately. It's not very funny.
Not very funny at all.
Eee.
It's all right.
It's
Eee.
okay.
Let's pick some games.
It's okay.
Thoughts and prayers.
That's right.
well-
During this tough time. All right, Steelers at the Raiders. That's the first game we're going to pick right here. The Steelers are at the Raiders, and the Steelers are a 3-point favorite. And as we talked about earlier, the Steelers and Justin Fields might be playing for, his starting spot as quarterback of Pittsburgh, of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers started out 3-0. They're 3-2. Do they get to 3-3? Do they get to 4-2? How does this one play out? Again, a 3-point favorite on the road at Las Vegas.
I'm taking the Steelers. I'm rocking with Justin Fields. I'm rocking with my guy, quarterback. He needs to keep winning to keep that job, whether we like it or not. So I'm taking the Steelers to cover this game. Raiders are switching from Minshew to Aiden O'Connell. I don't think AOC has it. So I'm taking Fields and the Steelers.
I think the Raiders are really, really bad at football. I don't know how they beat the Baltimore Ravens. I still don't understand that game. I'm going to go with the Steelers here. But saying that, I think everybody in here is going to take the Steelers. So if that's the case, I'm going to switch it to Raiders. Casey, where are you going on this?
I'm going Steelers. So.
Give me the Raiders.
I'm going with the Raiders.
Okay, keep
So
me
you
with the
because
Steelers.
you said that.
Keep me with the
Steelers?
Steelers. Keep me with the Steelers.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going with the Raiders. For one, I'm not a big fan of the Steelers' offense.
You've
but on
always
top-
said you like AOC though, so that
Oh,
makes
I
sense.
can't
You've
wait.
always
said you're a
You've
big
come in
AOC
here
guy.
always.
He looks like if you were to hire someone to play like a weird cop in a comedy, that's who you would.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do this. Like, did I? It was over my head.
AOC.
AOC.
Your favorite.
What am I missing?
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
We don't talk politics.
We don't talk
in here,
politics
but
here.
if we could,
It's the Green New Deal.
It's a weave. You're gonna understand one day when you watch the podcast. You'll get it. No. By the way, our guy Mike Tomlin, leader of men,
That's right.
another year in another situation where he seems to not have control of his locker room. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the leader of men garbage when it comes to Mike Tomlin. I know he's a good coach, obviously, and I know that there are a lot of guys that rally around him, but, I mean, come on. It's just constant. Every single season,
Yeah.
there is some guy that is quitting on his team, has an attitude problem, is disgruntled in some way. I'm out on Justin Fields as far as being a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. That's one reason why I'm going with the Raiders. They've lost back-to-back games. I think they dropped to 3-3. But when Justin Fields already has limited weapons in Pittsburgh, not that I feel sorry for him about that, his number one weapon is becoming a major distraction, has been a distraction all week.
Oh, no way. Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah.
His whole career.
It's not frustrating. I don't care. I'm not a Pittsburgh fan, but it's frustrating that, again, another situation where we're going to act like, oh, Mike Tomlin, he has complete control of the situation. Because you know what they'll do? They'll trade him. This is what happens with Pittsburgh. When they get rid, like Deontay Johnson last year, he was a problem last year. They got rid of him. And what they do, Mike Tomlin, leader of men, when there's a problem, they get rid of that problem. That's what you do. But, you know, if the Browns or the Bengals have a problem and they get rid of that, oh, see, they couldn't control them and they let it get to a boiling point. Yeah, I'm going with the Raiders in this one. I think there's dysfunction happening in Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson's going to come save the day.
Dysfunction in Vegas, too, though. This is a dysfunction off.
And that's true. that is true. From one dysfunctional wide receiver to another.
That's right.
Nonetheless. But I'll take the Raiders. All right. Next up, again, we're giving you our picks heading into the weekend. Pop it up on the screen.
Neighbors ruled out.
Neighbors ruled out.
He's ruled out.
Big time before we pick this Bengals game. Good to know.
Browns at the Eagles. Now, I think
Change the line.
I think everyone knows right now exactly who should be favored in the what? What is happening?
We're trying to figure out if Neighbors being out changed the line before we get to that game and try to pick it.
No, so the Browns at the Eagles is the next one up. Eagles a 9.5-point favorite. I'm not surprised that the Eagles are favored. We were talking about lines earlier that were kind of surprising.
Yeah.
This is a line that surprises me. A 9.5-point
It's really big.
line. I mean, that's kind of wild to me. I'm going to pick the Browns to cover, but I don't think the Browns win. I'm picking the Browns to cover. Again, they're a 9.5-point dog on the road at Philadelphia. I do think you get a better game from Deshaun Watson, whatever that means. So I'm going to go with the Browns in this one, at least covering, but I still think Philly comes out on top.
Yeah, I'm also taking the Browns. I think the 9.5 is far too big. I don't think the Eagles are very good at all. So I'm going with Cleveland.
I mean, I'm going with the Browns, but
Here we go.
Casey, where are you going?
Just pick the game.
I was picking the Browns too.
Just pick
I'm
the
going
game.
Eagles. I'm going Eagles. I don't believe in this pick. I
It's
hate
the worst
the
when
pick.
Kirk Herbstreit
I'm not
does
going
this
to bet
stuff,
it.
So just pick the game.
Yeah, but it works. That's the craziest part.
doesn't.
It works. It
doesn't.
does. It does. It does work. Casey is testament to it that it does work.
I've sat in here and watched you do it and it not work many times.
I think the Browns win this game outright, but I'm going to say
All right,
that
so I'm not changing the graphic.
Eagles win by 10.
Earlier, when you said which quarterback gets benched first, did you pick Deshaun or Fields?
You said Fields.
You
I
did say
said
Fields.
Fields.
Okay, I'm just making sure because if they win
Deshaun's
this
not getting
weekend,
benched.
he's not getting benched. But yeah, I want to pick Cleveland to win, but that line scares me. But I feel good that they can cover.
I think,
but
yeah, they'll cover
I'm
that.
afraid to pick the Browns money line in that situation, but nonetheless,
Both Eagles wide receivers back, or at least limited in practice yesterday, so it looks like they'll be back.
You talked about the Pro Football Focus stuff a little bit ago. You were talking with, this is good.
Yeah.
You were talking with Mims and a couple of the
Yeah,
offensive
just
line.
my boys.
Yeah. The offensive line for the Bengals, Jacob had dinner with them last night. No, for real, he did. But you said that you asked them about Pro Football Focus and that
Yeah.
they don't like it, right?
Yeah, they said it's a good way to get a broad idea of how players are playing, but how their gripe with it is how they assign blame without knowing play calls. If two guys make a mistake and end up in the same spot, they just kind of pick one, and they did not like that. They thought that was unfair.
And it's one of those two where the Browns defense grades out really, really well from Pro Football Focus. And that's one of those where I'm like, I've watched every single second of every single game, and I'm really struggling to comprehend how statistically the Browns are a top 5 defense in the NFL right now. That doesn't sound right, but according to Pro Football Focus, that's the case. So it made me think of that a little bit ago. But our next game on deck, we talked about the Eagles -9.5. That's a wild line. But this next one, it's the game of the week. We talked about the game of the season in college football a little bit ago, Ohio State, Oregon. I think this has kind of turned into a very similar situation in the NFL. Commanders and Ravens, Jaden Daniels against Lamar Jackson. The Ravens are at home, and they're a 7-point favorite. A 3.5-point favorite, no gripe. 5-point favorite, whatever. A whole touchdown favorite at home against Jaden Daniels in Washington. How surprised are you by that line, and who do you have in this one?
Shocked. Absolutely shocked by the line. The Commanders have been playing better football than almost anyone, and the Ravens haven't been able to hold on to a lead late, regardless of who they're playing. So I'm taking the Commanders strictly because that line is so high. When I saw this, I thought people were going to be all over the Commanders, and that's not the case. It's pretty much a 50-50 split here. So I'm taking the Commanders plus a full touchdown. I think Jaden Daniels does enough to at least cover.
This is the week, gambling-wise. I'm going to bet on things that I hate. I'm going to bet on the Ravens -7 because I hate it. I'm going to bet on Browns plus 9.5 because I hate it. I just hate everything. The Ravens have no business winning this game by a touchdown. I think honestly, I think the Commanders are better than the Ravens as of this very second. I know what the defense is, but the Ravens secondary isn't exactly great either. So I think it's going to be a 35, 33-point game again, and we'll see who holds the ball last. That's what this is going to come down to. And I just think a game like that, that's just 7 is too many points.
Yeah, by the way, why does we talked about how bad the Bengals defense is, and the outcome of that game last weekend between the Bengals and Ravens, everyone was talking about how great Lamar was and how horrible the defense was for Cincinnati. But did anyone see how bad the Ravens defense was too? Now that's not discounting what Joe Burrow did. I'm just saying like that should not happen. You should not be picked apart at ease like that. I mean, the Bengals were scoring at ease. I mean, it was equally as their defense was equally as unimpressive as the Bengals in that shootout. It's just interesting in a shootout between Lamar and Joe Burrow. Lamar is having a shootout win over Joe Burrow, while Joe Burrow just picks apart a bad defense. It doesn't make any sense as far as why the Ravens don't get criticized more, because that type of game happens regularly for them. It's not like, I get they're a good defense. That's the what they're known for. But that wasn't a good defense last week. I'm not sure why there's not more concern about that Ravens defense right now.
How many sacks did Burrow take last week? Do we know that answer? Anybody know that answer?
I can look it up.
I think it was only 3.
3 sacks? I was gonna say, because I didn't feel like he was
didn't get sacked much.
I didn't feel like he was getting touched that much.
3 sacks, lost 21 yards, so 7 yards a sack or so.
All right. So listen, I think the Ravens are good. I think they might go to another AFC Championship game. I just don't think it's a Super Bowl caliber team. I don't think it's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, unfortunately. I think Lamar Jackson's a good quarterback. But it does come to a point where if you don't win in the postseason, I'm going to have doubts. And I know it sucks that we all have to play Patrick Mahomes, but he hasn't shown that he can beat Patrick Mahomes yet in the playoffs. And until I see that, I don't think that team's winning a Super Bowl. Despite what their defense is, despite who's on offense, Mark Andrews still doesn't get the ball. So I don't know. I'm kind of out on the Ravens this year. I'm more out on the Ravens this year than I've been out on them in a long, long time.
I'm picking the Commanders to cover in this one against Baltimore. Look, Jaden Daniels, as impressive as he has been, it's not as if he's been dicing apart defense. He's just been making really, really good decisions for a rookie quarterback. He's been making timely plays, too. It's what he did against Cincinnati. Some of those throws that he made were very impressive throws, especially in crunch time in that game. I don't think his stat line was very good against Cleveland, but Cleveland made him look bad at times. They made him look erratic at times. I think that the Ravens can do that with their pass rush up front. It's just whether or not Jaden Daniels can take advantage of the secondary of the Ravens the way he did Cincinnati's when they played a few weeks ago. I still think the Ravens could potentially come out in a close one here, but I do have the Commanders covering this one, so I'm going to take the Commanders from that standpoint. So there you go. All right, what do we have? I know we usually close out with the Bengals. I didn't put it in the right order. Which one do you want to pull up next?
We can do either one.
Pull up the non-Bengals one. We'll close out with the Bengals
Alrighty.
one. So the next one, this is the Devontae Adams Bowl, in my opinion.
That's right.
I think the winner of this game, and this is Monday Night Football, I think the winner of this game closes the deal to get Devontae Adams. There's reports that are coming out now that Devontae Adams and the Bills, apparently Devontae Adams just followed Josh Allen on Instagram. Consider it done. Signed, sealed, delivered. He's going to be a Buffalo Bill, right?
Signed, sealed, delivered.
It's like,
I'm yours.
That's where we're at with this. No, I do believe that the winner of this game gets Devontae Adams. I think Devontae Adams is going to be watching this game very intently on Monday night, and whoever comes out on top, whatever quarterback looks the most impressive, I think this is just a show for Devontae Adams. So Bills -2.5 on the road at the Jets. Josh Allen against Aaron Rodgers. A good quarterback matchup, but how good is this game going to be? Because two very questionable-looking teams at this point.
I think this is going to be a great game. I really do think this is going to be a great football game. I'm really, really excited to watch it. I think it's going to be back and forth, and I think it's going to be for the upper hand in the AFC East. The winner of this game is definitely going to have an upper hand because I don't think the Jets can go in and beat Buffalo in Buffalo, especially later in the season. So if they can't take care of business at home, you can probably sign those AFC North or AFC East hopes away. I'm taking Buffalo -2. I think Josh Allen's the vastly superior quarterback at this time in Aaron Rodgers' career. And you say it's the Devontae Adams Bowl. That's funny because just a couple weeks ago, I thought he was locked in to go to the Ravens. We all were being told that he was locked in to go to the Ravens. So add him to the list of big-time receivers that are absolutely going to Baltimore that either don't go or don't work out. So shout out the Ravens for always botching this and rocking with Rashad Bateman.
That's right. Sean's making fun of me because I said, by the way, I didn't think the Ravens could win a Super Bowl, but they could make an AFC Championship game. Let me clear it up. The Ravens aren't going to go to an AFC Championship game. Let me just fix that for Sean in the chat. I had to say, because it was in my mind, and I couldn't let it go. And you brought up the Ravens, so I had to. Bills win this game by 25.
Ooh.
This isn't close. The disarray that's in the Jets organization right now cannot be solved until they get Devontae Adams in there.
It's disarray, but I think there's too much talent in there. Like
That offense is good, man.
They can out-talent the Bills in this one, and it is at home. And Aaron Rodgers, I still think is a very good quarterback, although he hasn't looked like that over the last couple of weeks. I think the Jets, they get rid of your guy, Salah. I think with Salah being out of there, Robert Saleh being out of there, I don't think he was necessarily the problem. But a lot of times when changes like that happen, a lot of times teams played unified football, and it just so happens to be on this Monday Night Football slate. I think the Jets are at home. You have Aaron Rodgers. I think they're just a more talented team on both sides of the ball. I think the Jets get a win at home. The Bills just have no weapons. I was very high on the Bills to start. I thought it was so cool seeing what Josh Allen was doing without any help, any weapons. I just think this Bills team is what we all thought coming in. Just an untalented team on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to take the Jets in this one.
Took a great play from Keon Coleman for them to get anything out of the wide receiver room last week.
So there you go. All right, and last but not least, as we close it out on the radio side, the Cincinnati Bengals on the road, taking on the Giants.
Moved as of yet.
The first 25,000 fans get a Tom Coughlin bobblehead. I don't know really what that means as far as the outcome of this game, but just a wild stat.
Not good.
Teams they're 1-0.
1-0 in Tom Coughlin games across the NFL so far this year.
They play inspired football.
That's right.
Will inspired football be enough to give the Bengals their 5th loss of the season? Are the Bengals 1-5 when we come in and do the show on Monday?
I'm taking the Bengals because, yet again, for what is the 5th week in a row, what happens if they lose? So I'm taking the Bengals -3.5 because I think if they don't cover, they won't win. If they cover, they obviously will win. I think you have to win by multiple scores here in order to get the win. So if you're talking about a 3-point game down the stretch, I think the Giants take it. So I'm taking the Bengals -3.5 because I think, honestly, at this point with this team, it's the same as a money line bet.
Last week, after I suffered that heartbreak against Baltimore, when I had a responsible amount of money on the Cincinnati Bengals to win that game, I made it a point that I'm never going to bet the Bengals again. It won't happen. Not in my life. Can't do it. Can't be up by 10 with 4 minutes left and somehow lose that game and not cover the spread. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take the Giants. I'm going to take the Giants +3.5. I'm going to take the Giants alt line -2.5. I'm going to take the Giants alt line -6.5. I'm going to bet the Giants so many ways that there's only one outcome and that the Bengals win this game.
That's right.
That's the only way that this can happen. I'm going to bet the Giants every prop I find, every player I find, every defensive kicking prop. I will find every bet I can make on the New York Football Giants, and I'm going to make it. And that way, it's the only way that I can see in the foreseeable future that the Bengals win games, is if I have every dollar I have on the opposite side. So Giants everything. Giants points, spreads, over, team total, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, all money lines, individually, the quarters, the halves. Take the halves. I'm taking the Giants every way possible, just so the Bengals can win.
Fair enough. Here's the deal. every time in the past I've picked the Bengals to lose, the Bengals always win. And then this season, the Bengals keep losing when I pick them to win. So maybe that's my secret hater sauce that I have just been kind of dousing on your guys' season all season long. So I'm going to continue that haterade. I'm going to pick the Bengals. No, in all seriousness, I am picking the Bengals. I'm picking the Bengals because of the point I've been trying to make from the very beginning. At the end of the day, you can look at the schedule for the Bengals. It is one of the easiest ones remaining. But I watched what Lamar Jackson had to do to beat Joe Burrow last week. He had to make some of the wildest throws. He had to make some of the wildest completions. They had to make some of the wildest plays that I don't think Daniel Jones is good enough to make. Daniel Jones, if it does come down, as bad as this defense is, assuming you get the production from Joe Burrow and the Bengals that they've been getting all season, at the end of the day, if it does come down to a shootout situation or a close game situation in crunch time, even with the Giants being at home, Daniel Jones can't out-play-make Joe Burrow. And that's why I'm taking the Bengals in this one. It really is going to come down to if defense is a bad thing, and the defense is bad for the Bengals, and it is, and it's going to come down to that fourth quarter each time. I just have a hard time believing that the majority of the quarterbacks left on the Bengals schedule can make bigger plays in crunch time than what Joe Burrow can. I have the Bengals and Joe Burrow getting their second win of the season on Sunday night.
I think I like the under, too. 47.5. I think this defense is going to wake up a little bit and do something. So I'm going to take the under as just a hope that this offense can score 30 and the defense can play football.
All right, Casey, close this out. Bengals, Giants, who you got on Sunday? I know who it's going to be. Who you got?
I got the Bengals. I agree with Jacob and his take on how they're going to win it. Like I said, the game script's really, really important. If they're going to win, it's not going to be close. I think they're gonna be up by at least 2 scores, whether that's 2 touchdowns or a touchdown and a field goal, 2 field goals, something like that. They're gonna be up. So, yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals. I'm gonna wear my orange-colored glasses one more time. Hopefully, they don't let me down.
You gotta do your part. By the way, any concern at all about Chase Brown being on the injury report? Kelsey Conway a half hour ago. Chase Brown is going through warm-ups right now after being added to the injury report yesterday with a quad injury. A quad injury is what had him pop up on that injury report.
Yeah, both Chase Brown and Zach Moss have been on the injury report throughout the week. Both are practicing today, at least what I can see so far. So no concerns about them being out this week if they're getting in on the action today. But like we said earlier, Malik Neighbors was ruled out for this weekend. No line movement because of that, at least yet. But certainly a big plus for this Bengals defense not to have to worry about one of the best young receivers in football.
All right, good stuff. That wraps it up for us on the radio side. Until Monday, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. So, Kelsey Conway, of course, one of the many Bengals reporters. I saw some people were getting frustrated with some of the questions she was asking last week.
Yeah.
Being a little bit antagonistic a little bit. I know she probably doesn't view it as that. I don't know if I do, but Jamar Chase a few weeks ago said that, hey, we're the team to beat in the AFC. And she waited until after they dropped to 1-4 to say, hey, Jamar Chase said that you're the team to beat in the AFC. Do you still believe that? And it's like, I don't know. I enjoy a good antagonistic question, but it's like I don't know how she could act like Bengals fans don't have the right to be annoyed with that question.
No, she's wearing her Ravens hoodie doing the interviews. It's all right. We know what
Was she
is.
really?
No.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
But
Don't
okay.
have the back end
I don't
of
know.
the game.
I just didn't know.
She worked in Baltimore for years. Can't blame her. I mean, I moved out of Ohio, and I still root for Buckeyes when I was in Alabama, so can't blame her rooting for the hometown team.
But yeah, nonetheless. So what are we doing for this final 15 minutes? Are we breaking out the
Final
free
15
throw?
minutes, brother. You know what time it is?
Oh, it's 11:54.
That was a 23-minute segment.
Yeah, we
Time flies,
just
having fun.
went way over.
I gave you the signal a while ago.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. It's your show. It's our show.
It is your show. You're the
It's-
one in
it's
charge.
your radio station. I was just telling you, man.
By the way, I am every producer's nightmare. I'm everyone's nightmare, but like, I don't listen to shit. I don't pay attention to anything. It's bad.
Yesterday we were.
There was, by the way,
over
there was
it.
a stretch where you guys were talking earlier. There was a and I'm overweight, so I'm not fat shaming by any means, but there was a very overweight individual standing by that little barricade over there, and like he was like standing there, and like he would like pass out and fall, and then his whole belly would like fall out of his shirt, and then like he'd like sit back up real quick, and then like he'd look around, he'd fall back asleep, and then he started leaning.
It's big of you that you didn't notice or you didn't mention that on air though.
Yeah, I'm saving it for now. But like my ADD, that's all I could focus on was seeing, because at times he would tip over and I thought he was going to fall to the floor and then he'd like sit back up. He looked like one of those little like balloons you put in front of like the car dealership. Like that's what he kept doing. It was wild stuff. There's a lot of interesting stuff that happens outside of our studio here. I really want us to do the show outside one day, just to people watch.
If there was ever a day to do our show outside, it's today.
Dude,
Well, before when you walk out to leave today,
Yep.
go take a stroll down there. Go do it. Maybe don't stroll, but maybe like take your car, drive the back way, and see if you can see the road, because it's going to be crazy.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
I was going to say something, but then I lost my train of thought. And I don't know
Well,
what
was
I
it making fun of people like I was doing?
No,
Because it
I
can't
was
get
going
any
to bully
lower than
anybody
that.
like you. And now I don't know what I was going to say. I had an intellectual thing. Oh, I was going to say something. How come a local network can't pick up the Crosstown Shootout?
What do you mean a local
Are you mad about
network?
that too?
Yeah, well,
I love it.
On ESPN Plus.
I think ESPN Plus is great for mid-major college basketball.
I think ESPN. There you go. Get your shots in. You
Wait,
loser.
what are you upset about?
You loser.
I don't even know. I haven't heard this. What?
So the
Crosstown
Crosstown
Shootout's exclusively on ESPN
on
Plus.
ESPN Plus.
People are mad.
And there's been outrage over it. I think ESPN Plus sucks. I love the Big 12. I think it's the best basketball conference. Being on ESPN Plus sucks. It's terrible. Terrible broadcast production.
What don't you like about it?
It's bad production. It's bad.
A lot of the
I thi-
production is done. It's kind of like we talked about earlier. A lot of it is the ESPN's not providing the schools
Right.
with the equipment to be able to pull off like ESPN quality broadcasts. A lot of times it is up to the schools to get the better equipment. I know us here at Chatterbox has significantly better equipment than the majority of colleges that I've come across when we've gone to call games as far as to do that. But, yeah, that's the risk that ESPN took with doing that, saying, hey, we're going to stream every one of your games. You're responsible for it, but you're at the mercy of the quality of equipment that they provide for you there.
I have no doubt in my mind Chatterbox could do a better production than ESPN Plus. I watched that game against Howard last year, and for those of us that are UC basketball fans that watched this game, the camera kinner, I'm not kidding you, it went like this. So normal camera goes like this. Yep. The Howard camera goes like this, like you were on a boat for a broadcast of a basketball game. It's the worst production of all time. I hate it. It shouldn't be a game of this caliber shouldn't be on ESPN Plus, at least in this city. I don't understand why Channel 9 or Fox, I don't know why one of those two channels can't pick this up. And I understand the college football stuff.
It's probably a lot more money for UC to be on ESPN Plus.
But I
Both
feel
universities.
I'm sure it is. But I feel like just for the people that actually that care and watch it, I feel like the ratings would be good enough to warrant a one-off during a college football slate on 3 or
I do
9.
wonder what the contractual stuff is, because again, sometimes it could be out of the school's hands. If the conference signs that, all games of all teams under that umbrella have to be on ESPN Plus, as far as that's concerned. Because I've always asked why, Northern Kentucky though. What I don't get is they get a lot of Bally sports games. Like, why can't Bally pick up the Crosstown?
That's what I was wondering.
Now they seem a little broke at the moment.
Yeah, they might be preoccupied with their debt.
But so no, I don't. Maybe that's not the case, because Bally picks up a lot. I mean, they're doing their coaches show. I know the guys that work over there, with Northern Kentucky, they do a great job over there. But yeah, they have their coaches show on Bally, which is wild. So yeah, that is a good question, especially for the rivalry of that magnitude, especially around here. People can mock it outside of here. That's fine, but we know what that rivalry means here.
Like, every Bengals game is on local TV, and I know it's very different, the Cincinnati Bengals and Xavier UC, but at the same time, there is a market for this game. If you're not even a UC or Xavier fan, you watch the game. So I think Jacob watches the game. He despises both schools, I'm pretty sure.
I used to go, but I have a jersey for Xavier and a jersey for UC. I just root for the home team.
I will say,
I do a JP McCura jersey and a Yancey Gates jersey.
Those
So
are
the two farthest ends of the spectrum.
Those are two good ones.
if who hosts this year?
Who does host this year?
UC. It's UC's turn.
So if the ESPN Plus broadcast is bad, that's on UC. I'm not defending ESPN Plus. We're fake ESPN. Everyone's like, oh, you work for ESPN. I'm like, we're fake ESPN. I don't pretend to be a legitimate ESPN employee. If it's bad, that's on Cincinnati then.
For the record, I think the broadcast will be fine. Okay. I just don't like having to go to ESPN Plus on my TV. There's a lag issue that always happens. There's some sort of buffer that always happens, and I don't like dealing with it. That's the part of it that gets frustrating.
I would say just pay for ESPN Plus.
Huh?
Just buy ESPN Plus.
No, I have it.
Right. So who cares?
I have ESPN Plus, but I'm saying, like, it's like, but think of the TV, Jacob. I can switch to other channels.
Well, if it's such a big game, you don't need to switch to other channels.
You're right. Make me feel like a loser.
I hate the people that complain about streaming only games, because that's the world. Like, people were mad when games were going on off the three.
For as
main
much as we
channels.
disagree on shit, it's wild what we always agree
Jacob.
on, because that's one too. Like around
Yeah.
the Super Bowl, I can't believe a playoff game. They're making me get Peacock, and I'm like,
Everyone's gonna watch it.
That's why Peacock bid for it. Well, no one's gonna watch it. I'm like, that's not true,
Right.
because
Peacock
Peacock
is the best,
If
or
you look
whatever.
at the subscriptions that they have now, and then you have to force people to download it to watch that game. If the product's good, they're going to do it. So when people say no one's gonna watch it, no, that's not true. If the
Right.
product's good, you're going to watch it. It's just an inconvenience. Like when they
It
do
is
that
absolutely
graphic,
an
yeah,
inconvenience.
it's an inconvenience, but at the same time, so is cable's been an inconvenience for a long time. For a while. But no, you are allowed to feel however you want to feel, because if that's the case. But no, ESPN Plus, that's how I'm obsessed with college basketball, especially calling the games. So when I'm calling the games, I constantly have like my iPad and my laptop and all these other little ESPN Plus feeds rolling at one time. So
I like ESPN Plus for what Jacob kind of made a joke about. I like being able to watch Fairfield versus
Obviously kidding, by the way. Let's
Yeah.
get that out there. This is a major game. One of the
Fairfield
best
versus
rivalries in
Kennesaw
college
State.
basketball, yeah.
Fairfield still has their basketball program. They might have lost theirs. I don't know. But I want to watch bad basketball if I have money on it. It's fun. I like watching the lower ends of college basketball because I think it's always competitive. But for a game like this, I don't understand why it's not on a local network. And maybe I just have I don't know that. Maybe I'm just stupid. But I'd like to find out why we can't have that happen. But nonetheless, that's where the game is. So we'll see everybody Saturday, 2 o'clock down the stretch for that one.
also, do you
I didn't like 2 o'clock time either.
this is the last question, then we can bounce. But so Dayton's playing Xavier this year, but it's in an exhibition game. I hate that. If Xavier is willing to go play Dayton,
Play the game.
Yeah. Ohio State, to their credit, agreed to play Dayton, but they went to go play at Dayton last year, which I thought was pretty cool. I know Chris Holtman's no longer there. I didn't dislike Chris Holtman, but I understood. It's kind of like Chris Holtman was the perfect David Bell comparison for me. David Bell did his job, and it just reached a point where it just wasn't good enough anymore. That was Chris Holtman for me.
Yeah.
Chris Holtman was a great dude. They needed to move on. But he was willing to go to Dayton for that, and I thought that was pretty cool. But at the same time, it's like, stop it with these exhibition games. Like, just play. If you're willing to get on a bus to go play at UD Arena, just do it, and vice versa. But Dayton, they take all the credit for it. They get to tout that, hey, we have Xavier come to play us. We had Ohio State come to play us in games that don't even count as far as that goes.
We played Dayton again this year. I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
Because it's not. Why didn't they do a home and home? If you're gonna
I
play,
agree. That's the
if you're
other
gonna play
thing.
twice, what are we doing playing at US Bank Arena, whatever the hell it's called now, Heritage Bank? It's such a dumpster.
Did that
playing
sell
there.
out last year when they played?
Yeah, I think it did. No, there's no way it did. But it was all Dayton fans. I mean, Dayton fans ran that entire arena. So that sucks. And I'm concerned UC's going to lose that game again this year.
I don't know how good Dayton's going to be. They get Zed Key from Ohio State. Do you follow that? Are you a college basketball guy too?
Yeah, but I'm a full Alabama basketball fan.
Fair enough.
I don't care about Ohio State basketball.
Well, no.
Just because I know they were never good when I was growing up. I loved Aaron Kraft in them, but after those teams, I really
That was
checked
my
out.
life. So I played against a lot of those guys. Well, hold on, let's reset. I was on a high school team that played against a lot of those guys. So I had I loved like the William Bufors and the John Dieblers, Costa Kufis, guys like the Aaron Kraft. He went to Liberty Benton. I'm from Van Wert, so like
Cool.
right up in that area. But no, so with John Diebler Jake Diebler taking over as head coach, they said, I think, who was it? Who's the CBS guy that always goes? And John Rothstein. So he was in Dayton just last week, and then he shot over to Columbus. And he just said after watching Jake Diebler's offense already and just watching how they move, he said Alabama is the perfect comparison for Ohio State football or basketball this year. So
Exciting.
There you go. Look at us working overtime again.
Before we get out of here, I'll give the people one winner. I'm not picking sides or anything, but there's a prop I adore this weekend. Avery Johnson's rushing total is set at 70.5. You're going to have to get in the car and drive to Indiana or Kentucky to place that college player prop. But Colorado has played 3 dual-threat quarterbacks so far this year, have allowed over 75 rushing yards to all 3. Avery Johnson over 100 in 2 of his 5 games. I think that's an easy winner. And at a pick 'em line, 70.5 for Avery Johnson.
I like
So
that.
there you go.
So can I read a tweet? Someone just tweeted us.
Please.
Steve Allen. Shout out to Steve. Tweets us regularly. He listens to the show regularly.
I love Steve.
So I'd thrown out earlier. One more disclaimer. You guys don't have to say anything because you guys, But with all the positive coverage that the Reds got for the Terry Francona hire, I'm surprised that the haters of the Reds did not poke fun at the fact that they said it took a Hall of Fame retired broadcaster to connect the two to get the job done. I thought that was kind of strange, not on behalf of Marty Brenneman, just the front office admitting that, hey, we're a front office that doesn't even have connections with Terry Francona. We had to call our Hall of Fame broadcaster to I guess they do have connections, but you see what I mean. So Steve Allen says on Twitter, multiple MLB managers have moved from the broadcast booth without any managing experience to become MLB managers. So asking a retired broadcaster if his Hall of Fame neighbor would want to manage again is not that far-fetched. No, I get it. It's one of those, if the Yankees do that, I don't think anyone bats an eye. I think it's when you're the Cincinnati Reds, it has a tradition of losing. It's kind of like the Bengals. There's a lot of things at the Bengals that if other organizations did, it wouldn't even be mentioned. But because the Bengals have a reputation, having players having to walk across the street, it gets blown out of proportion, right? The practice bubble gets blown out of proportion. All the goofy stuff about the Bengals organization because of the tradition and the perception of losing that has surrounded them for so long, they get made fun of more for it. That's what I meant by that. If an established organization had their Hall of Fame broadcaster connected to, no one says a word. But I did see some people poking fun at it, and that's why I was like, I knew that was going to come at some point as far as that goes. But that's not a shot at Marty.
No, I didn't.
Not even close.
I didn't think it was.
Marty is bigger than the Reds. We know this. That's
Yeah.
All right, that wraps it up for us. Until next week, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
Box lunch.
Box lunch.
In like 30.